Welcome to the Non-Sequitur Show. Continual watching beyond this point may result in terminal face palming and a complete loss of wokeness. You have been warned.
All right. Hopefully this will work. I'm using Skype for a change, and I haven't used Skype in ages. So before we even get started, I want to make sure we don't have any kind of echo. Usually when I use NDI, it kind of has a little bit of echo to it. So please let me know in the live chat there. Second thing I wanted to address real quick before we even get started is there was a comment left on the first video when I first had Cindi come on, and I think even though I don't think the question was asked, I think disingenuously, it was a good question to ask. So I wanted to kind of address it before even bring Cindi back on, because the first time Cindi was on, I don't think we really did her justice. I don't think that we talked about some of the core things that were the main issues that she was having with Kent Hovind, and I wanted to apologize to her for that and kind of have her back on to kind of address the more specificities of her relationship with Kyle. I can't do that. Kyle, Ken. There's a lot of similarities there, by the way, which we'll get into with Kent. And somebody had asked something to the effect of trying to exploit a abuse victim, which I wanted to make very clear from the get-go. Once I first was introduced to Cindi and I started talking to her, I wanted to make sure that everything that she came on to talk about was cleared with her. I didn't want to discuss anything she was not comfortable speaking about, and I wanted to give her a voice as a victim, because from what I was understanding, that the communities out there, the Christian communities, and even some of the atheist communities were not giving her any voice, and I wasn't going to be like that. I wanted her to have a voice as a victim, and when I reached out there, she was very pleasant. We had a great, cordial, and congenial conversation, and she just struck me with the air of authenticity, and I believed her. So I wanted to have her come back on and talk about some of these things. So let me introduce her real quick. This is Cindi Lincoln. This is Kent Hovind's fourth wife, third wife, eighth wife, 12th wife. I lost count. Third. Okay. And that this was on paper, right?
This was not on paper. This was just done by a pastor because I didn't want anything to do with his tax liability, which I thought was bogus since he's a Christian martyr and the government was going after him. I'm sorry. Yes, I drank the Kool-Aid. I believed it. I no longer believe it.
And that's what I mean by on paper. It wasn't anything official or, through any kind of
well, in my mind, I was married.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I recognize those kind of marriages. Yeah, common law type stuff. And speaking of taxes, we have Peter Reilly with us, who is a writer for Forbes magazine, who has been around for a while now, who has been long following the Non-Sequitur Show case. I have been in constant communication with him. He has been nothing but polite as far as wanting, answers and questions. I've been trying to, give him all the answers I could. And, we've had a really good, actually, back and forth. And I appreciate that. So Peter is going to come on and kind of talk about the tax things that Kent was going through. And he's been well familiar with your case as well. He's been writing on it. Links are in the video description. So Peter, welcome.
Hi.
It's been helpful for me too, and spent a long time on the phone with me. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, he seems like a really good guy. Like I said, I'll just throw this out there. Peter's already aware of it. Like Peter and I had a gentleman's wager a while ago, and it came out that I won, and he paid it in full. I used it to buy a nice dinner and buy some people drinks with it. But I appreciate it. It was really honorable, and I respect that an awful lot. So this is kind of gonna get started. So Cindi, can you kind of tell us, how initially did you get involved with Kent? And especially from a financial aspect, because I know you had a pretty large sum of money from some kind of inheritance, and you felt somehow like a Christian duty or marital duty to turn that over to his ministry, not to him personally, but to his ministry, which will come into play here. How did that all come about?
When I came from California in 2016 to serve in the ministry, I had a home that was my father had given me. That was my inheritance. And I rented it out for $2,000 per month, which was my income stream, so that I could be self-supporting. And after a few years, California taxes really got me down, $5,000 a year. So I decided to sell my California home and buy Alabama rental properties and replace the $2,000 per month that I had been receiving from Cali. I bought one home, and I was only getting $700 a month, and I needed $1,300 more per month in order to get the $2,000 per month income that I was used to. And so I was looking for houses to buy, and I realized, wait a minute, I don't really need another house. I just need another paycheck. And I said to my husband, I said, honey, I think it's a great idea. What if I put the $130,000 that I bought for the other house into Dinosaur Adventureland, and then you could give me a rent check, and then we don't have to worry about tenants or leaky roofs. I can just devote everything to the ministry. And he said, let me talk to Ernie. And so
now who's Ernie, real quick, so people are aware of who Ernie is?
Ernie Land is basically, I'm gonna go ahead and
say it. Do it.
He is Kent's cloak. Kent can't own anything because the IRS will come and take it away, and so everything's owned by Ernie.
So hiding assets, I mean, Peter would probably know the specificity of that. He knows all about the IRS because I think he used to audit for IRS. Would that be hiding assets, by the way, possibly?
Do we say those?
I don't really know. I can't exactly characterize what they got going on there, to tell you the truth. It's but basically, Ernie actually gives Kent better advice than the other people he's used in the past. Like when he had Glenn Stoll as the trustee of the old Christian Science evangelism, he didn't register. They said it was a trust, and it was like out in the air, and that's why he got in so much trouble. Ernie has got him more compliant. They set up the new, and we'll get confused about the entities because they have similar names, but he set up the new Christian Science Evangelism that owns the park as being a 501c3, and they applied for 501c3 status, and then they got it. And then they got church status, which is even better because you don't have to. It eliminates the transparency. Mm-hmm. So that's. But then the other thing he did was he created an S corporation that Ernie owns, that runs the store and sells the tapes, I believe. Okay, yeah. And Ernie owns that S corp, and it has a contract with Kent to pay him for intellectual property. And that then creates Kent having some income that the IRS can grab, and it's not very much apparently. But okay. There's nothing illegitimate about. I mean, Kent lives pretty modestly. It doesn't seem like he's got mansions and planes and things somewhere. He lives there at that place, and. So I don't know. So there's nothing inherently illegitimate that I saw in that structure.
Okay.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's fine. All right. So going back to Ernie owning all that stuff.
I'll shed some more light on that,
Please.
Peter.
Okay.
So Ernie came back with a contract that said that he would pay me the $1,300 per month, but that he couldn't call it an investment or an annuity or a loan, or I don't know. I don't remember the word loan ever used, but in my mind, it was like an investment for a return. And when you buy an investment property, you get paid for your whole entire life. And then when you die, you leave the property to your kid. Well, he didn't want to do it for life. He said, I'll do it for 20 years. And I said, okay, that's fine.
How old is Ernie? Because that's probably the rest of it. I mean, he's not a young spring chicken now, is he?
No, they're both close to 70, I would say.
So.
They've been
Kent's a year younger than I'm 70. Kent is a year younger than I am.
So 70, 80, 90. I mean, it's reasonable. People do live their 90s and 100s, but I mean.
Yeah.
79.
All right.
Or I'm so sorry. 69.
69.
All right. So you want to do it for 20 years.
And I think Ernie's similar age. I mean,
Yeah. So he didn't want to call it a loan or an investment. He said that was ministry regulations and he wasn't allowed to do that. So he was just going to call it spousal support. And I said, well, I trusted both of them at the time. And so I basically said, I don't care what you call it as long as I get my paycheck. And they were agreeing to pay for 20 years. And so I thought everything was cool. Well, and then they said I wasn't going to just do one check for $130,000. I was going to, I wanted control over where that was going to go because so I bought the van, I bought some side-by-sides, I bought Freddie's addition, I bought the petting zoo, barn, and basically after the contract was signed, everything that I bought for the ministry was part of the deal.
Okay.
And then I reached my 130, I stopped. And I think, first of all, he didn't like that because he wanted everything. But then bad stuff started happening with Steve, the tech guy. And my husband turned on me. And I'm not sure if they were planning to breach the contract from the get-go or if it was just when Steve started getting involved. But now that I look back on it, what they're saying right now is when they breached the contract, it's because I left and now I'm no longer a spouse, and so I don't get the spousal support.
And since it was just through it was just kind of through the ministry that you guys were married and nothing officiated. And again, whether you paid that to the ministry in good faith or whatever, you didn't have any benefits as being a recognized spouse in the law, correct?
Yeah. Well,
go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I've been told I could have better chances in court if we were legally married because, you have to have a financial settlement when you get a divorce. But
the other thing is the document does not recite the consideration of $130,000 that Cindi made. So in the document it says it says the $1,300 a month spousal support. It's coming from the S corporation, and Kent did the one that maybe there's something that Kent signed, but the one that you had Kent hadn't signed. So there's no connection in the document between the $130,000 and the obligation to pay the $1,300.
I was just so stupid. You're right. I mean, it should have said, but see, I wasn't even thinking that anybody would do this to a woman who was pouring her heart out for the ministry and giving so generously. So before this contract was signed, I had already given $90,000 that year, because when you sell a house in California, you get a lot of money. And I had been a single mom, poor all my life, never been able to give more than $10 to a ministry here and there. And now I was like, wow, this is so cool. I got the greenhouse. And I still had enough for 3 houses. So anyway, for him to say, oh, they were all donations, you don't get them back, or, it was spousal support. I'm sorry, 100%, 1,000% lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I
that
don't know
gets
how
into
else
a
to
couple
say
of different
that.
things. Well, first of all, Kent lying, what a shocker. I'm amazed by that. That is just the news of the century. I mean, that should be all over headlines. I mean, I don't know why CNN and MSNBC and all the news organizations are like talking about that. Kent lied. Okay. But there's a couple things that really struck my interest. Now, you sent me a bunch of videos, and again, a lot of them, it's really hard to hear the audio, so I'm not going to play a lot of them. But a few of them, one especially it kind of was interest to me. And then you actually sent me a letter, which we're going to be going over here. And that wasn't from Ernie, but it was from Bernie. Is that what it was? Brady.
Brady Byram.
Okay. And we'll get into who that is in a second, which I'm going to be showing the letter, and we're going to I want to kind of go over it a little bit. I know you guys won't be able to see it internally, but Cindy, I'm assuming you have a copy, and we'll read it to you, Peter. But it's really telling. This letter was really, I mean, I have no ability to test the veracity of the authenticity of the letter, but in a video, he talked about it somewhere along the line. So I assume that this is actually a real letter. And I think Peter would know that to be the case. But it was really, I mean, the way that you're treated in that letter and talked to is just tells the whole tale without question. But I wanted to talk about the audio first, because in your proceedings with him and all these dealings with him, there was this audio guy, the technician guy, Steve, who we used to deal with in order to get Ken on the show. Which there were some issues there, were they not, that you had talked about last time?
Understatement.
I'm trying to play this down a little bit. Yeah, understatement. Matter of fact, go ahead. I know it's kind of, in the previous video, but if you want to reiterate and rehash the issues with this Steve guy, by all means, and then we'll get into the why he wanted to, bug you, and I do believe as in actually surveillance, not like, bug you as in like, hey, hey Cindy, but actually, under surveillance. I think that was actually the case. It was kind of hard telling the video, but there was other things that kind of, I believe that would be the case. But anyways, so what was the deal with his technician guy?
So when I bought my first house, I was scared to buy a house and then have no renter show up.
Okay.
Right. And so he was looking to move closer to camp. And he found this house, I believe. I'm not really sure. Anyway, the house was purchased with him in mind to have to be my tenant, because at that time Kent had told me, oh, he's changed. See, he had gotten fired and had been gone for several months, and oh, he's a great guy. He loves the Lord, blah, blah, blah. So I let Steve be my tenant. And basically it was okay for a while. And then he started being abusive. At one point, he wanted to buy the house from me with no bank loan and no down payment and no collateral. He just wanted to pay rent for 10 years and then take my house. I'm like, no.
Not quite sure it works that way.
It was right after the day that he had frauded a drug test. And so he had lied to me, lied to my husband. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be your banker. You're a crappy risk. So at that point, well, and because I was busting him with this drug test, he started calling me a Jezebel, and instead of, oh, Mrs. Hovind or anything respectful and ministry partner, now he's calling me a Jezebel. He's saying that I slept around before my husband, that I forget all of the stuff that he said, but it was horrific.
It was character assassination.
Oh my gosh. Do you know anybody who talks like that?
Oh, anyway, no, nobody. Oh, no. Why would I, of all people, know anything about that? Hush in the peanut gallery. I got a moderator laughing over here. Stop it. Go ahead.
You got stories too.
Oh, girl, I got stories. Got stories and then some stories. Probably why I empathize with you so much is like, okay, yeah, no, I get this totally.
That's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what a narcissist is.
Oh, yeah, I've dealt with my share. And they all have very similar personality traits, to say the least. Now, there are different types of narcissists, but the ones I've had my experience with, they all do one thing. They will lie, and manipulate and harm people. And most of them, not all of them, but most of the ones I've dealt with have had sadomasochistic type personalities, or at least sadism, to say the least. They get off on harming people, and that's just something that I find to be so morally egregious as outrageous. It blows my mind that people would find pleasure in harming other people, but unfortunately there are sick people out there. But yeah, so I get it, trust me. Yeah.
100% agreed. And I think Christians are more naive, and that's why if you've never dealt with a narcissist, you don't know they exist, and you don't believe the victim.
Yeah.
You think that she's crazy, and they're telling you she's crazy.
Oh, the letter that we're going to be going over, I mean, exemplifies that. They basically were gaslighting you. They were demeaning you. It was, I mean, Peter, you've read this letter, I assume, correct?
Yeah. It's a while ago, but
yeah. Well, did they think that was like? How did they think that it was like looking good for them to put to give you such a thing? I don't know.
I have a recording. Okay, so when they gave me that letter, they gave me strict instructions not to share it with anybody.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. So going back to Steve there. So Steve, the technician guy, because again, he has the ability to bug you, which I'll play the recording here in a second. Yeah. But go ahead. So Steve was renting, wanted to buy the house, but based that basically on renting. So basically, because I'm renting here, if I live here for how many years, I own the apartment complex. Is that how Steve was thinking?
He just wanted to steal my home.
Yeah. And
anyway, I was told by numerous people, rent to own is a very bad idea, especially with someone you don't trust. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so when I told him that I would not, hey, look, you just lied to my husband and I, you just frauded a drug test. No, I will not sell you my home. Well, Kent was very upset because Steve is his golden boy and he wants Stevie Boy to have everything that he wants. And Stevie Boy was very upset. And so Kent's trying to get his wife into submission and make her do it. And first of all, that question is like, why? Why? Why is he siding with Steve and not his wife? And so when I showed him that text where Steve's calling me a Jezebel, I said, honey, did you see this? You know, I would be expecting him to say, wow, this guy's got to go.
Yeah, he's going after his wife. I mean, you would expect him to be protective.
You know what his reply was? I agree. Wow. I'm like, what? And it was just downhill from there.
So he had the ability. Okay, so like I said, he was the technician guy. He was the guy that when we had Kent on to do the debates with King Crocoduck on my main channel, Steve McRae, that he was kind of explaining to Kent how to use a microphone like he's never had to use a microphone before. It was really odd too, because every time we went through the setup to get Kent to come on and talk, it was the same thing. Like he didn't know what the hell he was doing each time, and it's like, how many times have you done this, Kent? It was weird. But so Steve, long story short on that end, Steve, I believe, got arrested and I believe was found to have sadomasochistic imagery on the ministry's computer systems that you talked about last time, correct?
Yes. I don't know if you heard his Whackin' Atheist tonight, but he had Steve on, and Steve lied through his teeth and said, oh, that was Nick's computer.
So okay.
It was in Steve's house.
Okay,
Nick hadn't been in Steve's house for a year, number one. Number two, would Nick set the screensaver on a computer inside Steve's house?
Yeah, that seems kind of odd to me. Now, again, I'm not judging the people's proclivities, but it's kind of odd in a ministry kind of situation, especially, going back to like when Kent was in jail and talking to Steve Anderson, he had explicitly said something to the effect that while he doesn't believe that anybody should kill anybody who's gay, he believes that the government should do it, kind of absolving the morality aspect of it, the gross immorality of it, to try to justify that type of heinous type of thinking, which came from, of course, Stephen Anderson, Matt Powell, and unfortunately, these are Christians, and I would never expect anybody to use those types of people to generalize all Christianity. That would not be fair, that wouldn't be appropriate, but there are certain people that are fundamentalists like that have that mentality, and they defer the moral, egregiousness, the immorality of that by saying, oh, well, the government would do it. We're not going to do it. It's like, what? And, and then to have, Steve have gay sadomasochistic porn on his computer, it's just beyond hypocrisy. Again, I don't give a crap what they have on their computer, but it's the hypocrisy involved in all this because,
Right.
of course, I'm sure Kent was aware of this at some point,
Well, when he found out about it, there are several audios on my YouTube channel where Jeff asked him about it, Freddie asked him about it, and Ken could care less. Just like when I handed him the text that called me a Jezebel, he could care less. And just when Steve frauded the drug test and told Timmy and Kenny, put the swab in your pocket so that you look clean when you're really high as a kite.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Ken could care less about lies, about drugs, about pedophiles, about things that even non-creationists are mortified by.
Right. I mean, these are things that are just kind of standard to anybody. I don't think why there should have any kind of relationship to religion or Christianity or to creationism, because we, you and I differ on our creationist beliefs, and we'll have those discussions in the future. But as far as what is right and what is wrong, you can just say that it came from a God. I can say it came from other sources, but you and I both agree on most things that we would say are wrong and right actions, though, and what Ken has done are wrong actions. So
I'm going through huge shock, betrayal, like, oh my gosh, can this be true? This guy's supposed to be a Christian. He was my loving husband. What happened? Just disbelief. So yeah, he's got some tape recordings of me yelling and cussing. And especially when he says to me, we don't have a contract. What?
Yeah, he was pushing your buttons, and he was getting you to that point, which everybody has a breaking point, which is kind of relevant to what Peter had mentioned earlier before we went on air. Peter, Ken is an independent fundamental Baptist, right? So he's not affiliated with any kind of mainstream organized Baptist religion, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, right. As far as I can tell, I mean, it's no denomination that Kent's accountable to in any way.
Right. And so, do you think
that's the difference between a Southern Baptist and an independent Baptist? A Southern Baptist, they're accountable to a board. An independent, there is no board. There's no one I can report him to.
Exactly. There's no oversight.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
they'll claim, oh well, Ernie's my board, Bill Sardi's my board. Yeah, they are yes men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're on the dole.
I mean, when you get into church polity, there's a broad range of, how centralized churches are, how top down they are, and so there are in the evangelical world, you end up at the most decentralized, and you end up with independent ministers who are independent, and the Southern Baptists even don't have a lot of control over what the individual congregations do. Like Roman Catholicism is probably at the other extreme. I mean, like a Roman Catholic Church is owned by the Archbishop in corporation sole. It's whoever holds that office of Archbishop, they own the church in their title. Whereas you're at the other end is your independent Baptist. And there's a problem. When you're reading tax cases, the independent ministers end up getting in trouble, getting the church's property mixed up with their own property.
Yeah, and that's you have to keep them separate, right? When you have church property, that's considered owned by the church, and yet they'll appropriate for their own usages, correct?
Yeah. Whereas in the more hierarchical, organized churches, you don't. Not that there's other things going on there, but that tends to not be the problems that they have. They have other problems.
So, Cindi, why is it that Hovind never got a Gulfstream 5? Is he afraid of flying?
Really weird. All he cares about is building Dinosaur Adventureland, but I don't know why he's.
See, I don't think it's about greed with him, because, as Peter said, he seems to be live a pretty modest lifestyle. I think with him, he's the type of narcissist that it isn't about greed and money. It is about power and respect and admiration. Worship. and that's
You got it.
yeah. So I mean, it's a very different type of thing. I don't think he's greedy as in like money, but money is power, and power is what his ultimate thing is. That's the way I'm looking at it. Again, this is subjective, but it sure seems to be the case. And I've known Kent a very, very long time. I probably know Kent before you did. I don't know when.
Yes.
I've known Kent for a while.
You said that last time that you interviewed Peter, and I heard you say that, and I thought you nailed that on the head. And what Peter just said about top down, that's what Kent wants. He wants to be the sole authority.
Mm-hmm.
If it's my ministry, I bring in the money, I do what I want. If you don't like it, take a flying leap.
Yeah, and I've seen that. I mean, and you're not the only person to say that too. Theo has said that.
About that.
Yeah, he's very open about
I
that.
think the money and the building of Dinosaur Adventureland ties in with he wants that.
Oh, does she freeze?
Yeah, I'm just seeing I don't see her anymore. I just see the image.
Yeah, she froze. She may not have the strongest connection. You guys are fine. But she. Hi, is that your wife?
Yeah,
Hi,
this is Abby.
Hi, Abby. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the Non-Sequitur Show. Yeah, I think she froze real quick, so maybe she can like go out and come back into Skype if she's listening. Like I kind of want to play this audio clip of her talking to. I'll set it up for when she gets back. I guess she was like in bed with Kent while he was sleeping, kind of like rubbing his back, trying to ask him why did he want Steve to bug her? I mean, like surveillance bug, which I think is really mortifying to think that, you know, not just a husband, but anybody would want to surveil somebody. Because, I mean, obviously they're afraid of what she has to say. But, you know, they also know that no matter what she says, there are going to be true diehard Kent sycophants. I mean, I have nothing against Theodore. Remember Theodore? Lies of the Devil?
Yeah. I mean, I'm annoyed at him never apologizing for making a picture of me and Bob Beatty and Jonathan Schwartz as Nazis. But, you know.
Well, Well, I mean, I have some major issues with the guy, although when it comes to Kent, you know, I think we all agree with him and stuff like that. But, I mean, he is a sensationalist. He sees Satan in everything, right? I actually got on him because he was walking through a Costco one time and did a video. And there's a book on like some kind of fighter, like F-14 or F-15, whatever the plane was. And he was like, "Oh, look, this has the face of Satan on it." It was pareidolia. And I'm like, "Dude, come on, look, you're acting like a whack job." I mean, there's a point in religion where, you know, it becomes, religion is not delusional, Christianity is not delusional, but when you're seeing the face of Satan and everything, you probably need to go get help. I think at that point it might become a delusion, because you're just projecting things onto things that have absolutely nothing to do with theology or anything like that. It's a plane. Welcome back.
I'm so sorry.
No,
I got
of course.
people calling me and it's interrupting.
No worries.
What I was trying to say is that the Kent's money all going into DAL, it ties into his desire for admiration.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to build this for his image.
Right.
And he'll tell you, oh, he just wants to build it to save souls.
No.
But
he's the god of his own mind.
The extreme that he takes, stealing his wife's money, shows a part of his character that is far from caring about souls.
While you were gone, I had did a setup for this audio clip that you sent. It doesn't need to be video, even though there's a video attached, but just the audio clip. I'm going to play a minute of it, so I'm going to mute everybody else. You won't be able to hear internal, but you obviously you know what's being said, obviously. Right, Cindi. So I'm just going. It's going to be quiet in here for a few minutes while the outside want to listen to the outside. But I'll probably just play a minute of it.
Let me give you a little.
Yeah, go ahead. Set it up. Go ahead.
Just a small amount of background.
Sure.
So you'll see that Kent Hovind is very sleepy because I'm rubbing his back. I'm being a loving wife, and we're just basically pillow talk. And he asks me, you know, we're talking about Dinosaur Adventureland business, and he asked me to do a group text to the whole staff. And so I picked up his phone in order to do what he just told me to do. I was going to send a group text to the entire staff. Well, when I picked up the phone, there's a notification and the first line of a text from Steve Lynn. And it says something about bugging me. And I'm all, what? So yeah, I clicked on it and I read the whole thing, and then I proceed, and that's where you're going to pick up right now.
Okay. All right. Let me play this real quick. Here we go. And like I said, you'll be muted on the inside here. Well, I don't have to mute you guys, but you guys won't be able to hear it.
Why
We're
are
listening.
you thinking about bugging me?
Huh? What?
Why are you thinking about bugging me?
I'm not bugging you, am I? What are you talking about?
When I was going to do the group text, I saw a message from Steve that said you were going to bug me.
Oh. How long ago was that?
I wouldn't know.
Oh! Let me see Peter Reilly's text here.
Can you answer the question?
Oh! When you were arguing about something, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I didn't. I won't.
All right. So I just played that clip, and what's really, really telling is at the very end, he says something, because again, I really try to be objective, and I'm thinking, to bug somebody means multiple things. Worse, polysemous, which it could be actually like, like to bug me and just be annoying to me. But he said something very specific. He said, I didn't, and I won't. Those are his words.
And he also said, "Oh, we were fighting about something."
Yeah, you're arguing. Yeah.
Thing. And so, yes, you're right. Those words that he said, "I didn't and I won't," are basically admitting. And I was so upset. And then Steve, he says, "Oh, what I really meant was, I didn't want to annoy you."
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, then that's why I say there's an ambiguity there, right? Because the word,
no, a lie there.
Yeah, but when Kent says, "Oh, I didn't and I won't," there's clearly it's not to mean bug. It means to literally surveil. I mean, Peter, was that your interpretation as well?
Well, I couldn't hear it.
Oh, I mean, you didn't. Okay, but have you heard the video clip before?
Maybe not.
Okay.
Not. Yeah.
All right,
sorry.
So, yeah, no problem. We'll let the audience kind of weigh in on that.
Yeah.
What they think of that. So okay.
Well,
so
this is not an isolated incident. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he's been. There's several different recordings on my channel about him setting cameras all over the campus, telling people that they're being watched.
Heavy surveillance.
They said it was you that was doing that.
Okay, so
Cindi doesn't know how to set up a camera. I don't think. I adore her, but I don't think Cindi is probably the most technologically proficient person.
No,
around.
you're going to be surprised. Okay, so when he told me there was no contract, and then he changed his story to, "I didn't have authority to sign the contract," and then he changed his story to, "Well, the American Express canceled the ministry credit card, so therefore the contract is null and void," and all this bull. I knew they were going to breach the contract, and I had overheard him talking about me behind my back in a manner that I had never, ever heard him talk about me before.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a side of my husband that I had no idea existed. Okay, he's a Jekyll Hyde. And since they were going to breach my contract, and he was talking about me behind my back, and he was obviously setting up a smear campaign to discredit my witness, I went to Freddie and Manon's cabin, where I would cry quite often. And I was very upset because he had been recording me. And Manon said to me, "Cindi, why don't you record him?" And I said, "I'm not going to sink to his level. But with everything I just told you, that, he's doing things behind my back, he's going to steal my money. Like, dang straight, I'm going to get some devices."
Mm-hmm.
So I did. I got some recording devices, and I found out the real Kent Hovind.
Yeah, you wanted him to basically expose himself, which, again, I think most of us already knew the real Ken Hovind, but somebody who's that close with him, somebody who's actually living with him, somebody who's actually married to them, that must have been absolutely mortifying to realize that the person you apparently fell in love with and thought was this one person, especially what he portrays himself to be. He's like he's the great savior. He's defeating evolution. He's defeating the great atheist. To be somebody who's just as manipulative, lying, and morally reprehensive of anybody that you would actually think that way as a Christian to some, the mean atheist that he pretends atheists are,
Well, and I wasn't enthralled with him defeating y'all or defeating anything. I was enthralled that, he's traveling the world. He's preaching 900 times a year. I thought he was sold out for Christ. Mm-hmm. That's what I was enthralled. And in the beginning, he was a very kind.
Oh, somebody must have called her again.
Oh.
Stop calling Cindi on Skype. She'll get back to you, I promise. We didn't disconnect Cindi, but you're breaking up. There we go. You're back.
Later.
We missed the bet.
So what were you saying?
Me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I thought he was sold out for Christ, and I had wanted to be a missionary for years, and that's part of what some Christians really admire, that somebody's willing to leave their comfort zone in order to share the message of the Lord. I just didn't realize that preachers should be scrutinized harsher than anybody else, because the Bible actually warns about them being wolves in sheep's clothing. And so for me to look up to him and trust him was the opposite of what I should have been doing. I should have been scrutinizing and looking underneath the hood.
Yeah, well, you did later on, obviously. I mean, after the fact, but unfortunately, it got to the point that you had no other choice to do so.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're right. I was absolutely mortified. So when you make a recording device, you have to go and listen to it. So if it's recording for 12 hours, it takes you that long to listen to it until I discovered Audacity, and then you can just see the bumps and just listen at the bumps. But I would go out into my car, into the woods where he couldn't hear me, he couldn't see me. And I would listen and I would go, I would just cry out loud to what I was discovering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
yeah. It's unfortunate. No, I think we've all been there many times over, unfortunately. So going back to the whole financial thing, because I want to touch on this before we get to that letter, because Peter was intimately involved in all this. He had written articles on Forbes and other places. Ken Hovind's multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar, trillion-dollar, gazillion-dollar, whatever the hell it was, like $560 million. I don't even remember the number any longer. But it was pushing over $500,000 that he thought he was due from the government, correct, Peter?
No, it was $500 million.
$500 million, yeah, that's what I meant. $500 million. It was like 500 million something. It was like 560 million or something ridiculous.
It was a little over $500 million.
Yeah, and what happened there?
It was thrown out. I mean, it was just there was
turn out the lights.
It was sovereign immunity. I mean, he was suing these people who were doing their jobs. Mm-hmm. He was suing the United States government, and he was suing the judge, the IRS agent, the prosecutor, and that those people have immunity. I mean, it's very, very hard to sue them. And then I think he threw in his own lawyer. That was Paul Hanson's work. Paul Hanson's a pretty interesting guy. He's kind of has the type of legal theories that Bundy has. Mm-hmm. That the United States government has like a very restricted area where its authority is, and it's
post offices and something else.
Yeah.
Building roads maybe or something. Yeah. But did he do it for? I mean, like we had talked about earlier, I don't think he's in it for the money. Did he do it for the publicity, for the notoriety of it? I mean, there had to be a motivational factor other than just because he knew there's no way he believed that he actually was going to get that.
He wants.
You know what? I'm not sure. that he didn't. I mean, I think Hansen really
Okay.
believes.
Okay. No, okay, and again, that'd be fine. He wanted the money, but I'm absolutely convinced he wants the money for power reasons, which is fine. I mean, it makes sense, right? You want power, then you want the money. But for him to be a true believer, and Kent might be, Paul, you said certainly seemed to be, but to the rational mind, it's unfathomable that he would even think about asking judgment. My green screen is going to crap right now. I apologize. It's getting darker. I have natural lighting during the day, but as it gets darker at night, the sun goes down. I seem to vanish. I'm not a vampire or something. I don't just fade away or something. Actually, be the opposite. I guess I guess the vampire comes out at night. But whatever. What were you saying?
Well, no, I think Hansen seems to believe his theories.
Okay.
And what he, I say, well, geez, how come I can't find any decisions that agree with you? He says, well, what happens is I'll go into the courtroom, and once the judges realize that I've seen through them, they back down.
No, that doesn't happen.
And it's not recorded,
Yeah, they don't record. They don't want to be. Yeah, they're like, oh, you know what? He's right. Let's turn off all recordings of this and let's not get this in a record. We don't want people to know this stuff. Yeah.
That's what he believes, honey. That's what he believes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of them believes a lot of strange stuff.
That he has secret knowledge, and that Paul was very kind to me and stuck up for me when very few other people would, but I can't buy into his
sovereign citizen stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know what one was when I went there.
I'll explain the theory if
real quickly, sure. Before I get to the letter, I would love to have that because I want to have more sovereign citizens.
Yeah, well, that's Brady Byram is different, but basically the foundation of Hansen's theory, I believe the key thing is if you look in the Constitution, okay, there's a section of the Constitution where it says that in areas like forts and dockyards and essentially your government institute, the places where the federal government is doing stuff like a military base, okay, the United States has exclusive jurisdiction in those places. You got a military base in a state, the state laws and apply. That's exclusive jurisdiction the United States has there. And Hansen then takes that to mean that outside of those areas, the United States doesn't have any jurisdiction. So that except by contract, and he knows how to fill out all the forms, so he's not under any contract with the United States government. So he can just say, show me your authority, and they can't show him the authority, and that's the
typical
theory.
That's typical theory. And also, Kent believes that his name and his capitalized name are not the same thing. He says one is a separate entity, and that's just a bunch of nonsense too.
Yeah, I think Kent doesn't actually understand these things himself, understand these theories himself.
But he likes Paul's theories because to his advantage.
But Hansen really has it all worked out. I mean, he's.
The other thing they do is they revoke their citizenship, and I thought it was very interesting that Kent started drawing Social Security every month,
even though he doesn't have citizenship. Yeah, it's kind of like it's only advantageous
for all those years.
Yeah, it's advantageous when he wants it to be, right? So, do you have a copy of this letter, by the way, Peter?
No, not in front of me.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I probably hunt it down.
You'll see it on the video stream. I want to kind of bring this up because, like I said, we all know that
from Brady Byram.
This is from Brady Byram. Yeah. Again,
this background on Brady Byram.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Please. Brady Byram did KentHovinIsInnocent.com, and
I remember that's been around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is actually what compelled me that. Because before I moved to Dinosaur Adventureland, I had heard about Kent and his tax stuff, and after watching Kent Hovind is Innocent, I actually believed the lie that he was a martyr, that they were after him because of his teachings, and I'm sorry. And not only did Brady Byram write that, he's been Kent's paralegal advice on multiple things. And just a few months ago, his son came out and said that he had been abusing his daughter and his niece for years while he was teaching Sunday school. So yes, that's Brady Byram.
Okay.
Still welcome on campus, by the way.
And he is the one that has pretty much things in his name, correct?
No. Brady Byram is just this kind of self-taught legal scholar, so to speak. You know, that does his own digging. He's got no formal credentials or anything, and he also got involved in the baby home case. Do you remember that, Cindy?
You mean Mark Stoney's little girl?
There was this couple that was kind of just traveling through, and they were in a park or something, and she gave birth, and there was a whole thing about it. And Brady Byram got involved in that. I never followed it that much.
Ken Hovind gives away Brady's number and Paul's number whenever someone calls him for legal advice. He says, call Brady, he's the smartest legal genius you've ever known. And in fact, that's where this letter that you're about to read came from, because when we were having issues in, it's not really marriage issues, when he was frauding me and I was upset about it, he calls Brady Byram for advice. And so he recruited Brady Byram as his flying monkey against Cindy. So that's what you're about to hear. Abuse from Kent, but under the cloak of it being from Brady. So this letter was printed by Kent Hovind. Kent says that he took out some of the profanity, so I would say that you could say it was edited, if not fed, by Kent Hovind, and he put it on my bed. Kent did.
Okay.
So even though he's saying this is Brady,
so that's how it was delivered to you. It's delivered to you. He literally put it on the bed. All right, so let's go ahead and go over this letter. Hopefully you guys on the outside can read it. I'm going to put it in the upper right-hand corner. I'll read it to you, Peter. You can read it on the outside as well. But and this is 8 pages. I don't think we're going to make it all the way through, but we'll get as far as we can get. But it says, Cindy, right before I left the most recent visit at Doll, Dinosaur Adventureland, Ken asked me to write you but I don't write just to. Okay, let me rephrase it. Ken asked me to write you, but I don't write just to the wife, including a copy to the husband. So I am sending him 2 copies, one to hand to you, which apparently he did. Okay. I'm going to be brutally honest and open here for the record. Well, if it's for the record, why is it private? But whatever. But I suspect, based upon your previous statements to me, that you're going to dismiss this letter because your arrogance and pride are blocking you from seeing your faults. But I have to write it anyways, hoping for the best. Now, just starting off that first initial opening, he's putting it all on you. You're arrogant. You're prideful. You're not submitting to your husband. You're not, being a good wife. You're, basically not being a good Christian. He's trying to gaslight you. Yeah, he's trying to acknowledge you. Yeah. So I mean, right off the bat, that sets a very bad tone, doesn't it?
Duh.
All right. And Peter, throw in, by the way, like I said, you're gonna have to read it on the outside, but hopefully you can.
Just keep going. I kind of remember it, so.
Yeah.
I just don't have my copy of it.
I wanted to share, okay? So remember I told you, he told me don't share this letter with anybody on campus, right? You'll be gossiping and backbiting, right? And sowing discord among the brethren.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
What did I do? I posted it in a group text to 20 people.
Wow.
And I have it on recording where he says to Brady, you posted it.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you think that they would?
He thinks I'm gonna count out it, and anyway, go ahead.
By the way, I want to thank the person who noted. For some reason my filters were off, and I apologize. So I put filters back on my mic. I had them on speakers, but I didn't have my mic, so it should be a little cleaner audio now. And again, I'm losing my lighting here. I'm gonna have to get some kind of other lighting for this, but we'll worry about that. Again, who cares? It's about the guest here. All right, so going on, he says, I have observed in the brief times we have been in each other's presence that you're an expert, bold underline, offense gatherer and quote storer, and you obviously tormented in your brain by it all. So you being a victim is tormenting. Very, very interesting language they use here. Yeah.
That was part of what they were doing. They were saying that I was mentally. If you haven't seen the 1943 movie Gaslight.
Oh yeah.
That's what they're doing
with the whole light thing. Yeah, of course I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, that's exactly what it was, right? So they go on to say, I don't know what kinds of past hurt, offense, neglect, abandonment, or abuse you have experienced from former husbands or relationships, but I bet if you were interviewed, you were honest and open about it, you would be able to recall multiple hundreds of hurtful events or hurtful conversations that have happened to you over the decades from everybody who has ever associated with you in any degree. What this is setting up to do is saying, hey, look, everybody has had hurt in their past. It's ongoing. It never stops, but in life. So they're saying because you've had this, you're just somehow projecting it onto Hovind. That's the way I'm reading this.
And he's making the note that since I'm an offense gatherer, and I would remember it all, rather than letting it go like a good Christian would do.
Oh yeah, they definitely play that against you. Personally, I try to forget past offenses. Well, good for you. I'm not Jesus. I don't forgive. Because accumulating them and going over each of them a dozen times a day will make one insane. Okay, so he's telling you how to be the victim. He's telling you how to basically, what's the word? He's telling you how to victim properly. Yeah, he's trying to how to be victim properly, right? Which is just mind-boggling, right?
Lay down and be quiet.
Yeah.
So when somebody's raping you, you just smile and say, "Oh, honey, I forgive you."
Yeah, it's really strange though, right? It's just bizarre.
It's crazy making. It's freaking crazy making, and that's what was going
on. And then let's see here. I have never been a woman, but apparently y'all. I love this part, by the way. Holy cow! This blows my mind that he thought this was appropriate to even say. I've never been a woman, but apparently y'all are psychologically wired to have the capacity, underline bold, to remember offenses more, and that alone makes me sometimes wonder if a woman isn't some kind of special mental ailment in of itself. Wow, that's a whole different show on that one right there. Peter, hey, can we get your wife's opinion on that, Peter? I've just got to can we get her input on that? You got something to add on that, Peter? Be very careful how you answer this, because I know your wife's sitting there.
No, she's back upstairs. She doesn't have very much patience.
Oh God, I don't blame her. She's smart. Wow. I mean, Cindi, how do you feel for that? There goes my green screen, by the way. I don't care.
It was just shocking. And then, I'm supposed to go and sleep with my husband, and if I'm in the spare room because of the abuse, I'm evil, and I'm not going to get my paycheck, and I'm going to be kicked out.
You didn't have a place to go too. So this was a threat as far as your living as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One night he called the sheriff at 11 o'clock he threatened to call the sheriff at 11 o'clock at night. So I'm going to be kicked out in the dark at 11 o'clock at night with nowhere to go.
Blows my mind.
And Steve, you got to understand when I was driving to Dinosaur Adventureland, okay, we drive along, and I'm with my son William, and there's a stop sign with bullets through it.
Yeah, right here.
Bullets.
Yeah. And William starts making jokes about deliverance, and because as the GPS kind of said we were there and we weren't there yet, and it's like, but we kept on driving. But I mean, it's not, like 11 o'clock at night to be out there. It's not. it would be very scary, I think.
Petrified.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. So,
and I was just like, what is going on here? My husband is turning on me. Oh, no, I'm not, honey. I'll never leave you. I love you.
yeah, well, no, I'm
Crazy
sorry, but
thing.
this is not the words of somebody that respects you. This isn't from Kent, but Kent delivered this, which means that he endorsed it. This is not love. This is abuse. This is psychological abuse. And this is again when I started this stream today, I had pointed out that somebody had asked, "Hey, are you exploiting a victim here?" I'm like, "No, I'm giving a victim a voice." If people can't understand that, then I don't know what the hell I would have to even explain that there's an actual fundamental distinction to be made here. And again, I had clarified everything. I've asked Cindi numerous times, "Is this what you would like to discuss? Is this what you want to not discuss?" And made sure that she was comfortable all the way through this process. So, because other people weren't giving her a platform. And by the way, a Christian, I watched some of it, but you had been on a Christian channel not too long ago, and you had actually quoted something I said. And by the way, thank you for that. And it was dealing with, God. If God exists, why would he send me to hell over what Kent has been freaking doing, who's a so-called Christian, right? Real quick super chat. Option select for $2 Canadian. Glad you're back to YouTube, the Non-Sequitur Show. Thank you. It's good to be back. Got a lot of things planned. We're booked for March. There's been a lot of stuff going on with the show, unfortunately. Nothing I have control over, but I do now. I mean, I'm going to do what I have to do to try to be entertaining, be informative, and take this channel to be what it was initially before, it got hijacked by other factors. Let's put it that way. All right, so going on. Let's see. However, regardless of whether all women are this, quote, same in that regard, I still can't believe he thought that was smart to do. Or whether you're a, quote, special case among women, and this is all bold and some of it underlined in caps, you have no right to then regurgitate, aka vomit, like he hasn't explained to you what regurgitate mean. Oh, sorry, Cindi, you're not smart enough to know what the word regurgitate means. All of your psychotic stories over and over and over and over and over, yelling and screaming them into Kent's ear day after day for however long it has been happening, and certainly not in the future for your potential years or decades together. But again, I think you hit your breaking point. I think he was gaslighting you, and you had reached the point where you just couldn't take it anymore. Is that correct?
And you're about to read some of the instances that I wasn't going to give up on, like when Steve frauded the drug test and I was called a liar and I had 7 witnesses, like when Kent planted girls' underwear in our master bathroom.
Whoa. Okay, that one's new. That came. Whoa. Wait. Back that one up here. We got.
Like when Kent body slammed me and then told everybody else that I was tripping on the rug. And I mean, I just was.
Wait, hang on. I want to know about these planning.
You want to know about
girls? Oh yeah. No, how can I not? This is fire. Please, what?
Okay, so Christmas. Okay, so October was when they said there's no contract. Late October is when the body slam happened. So by Christmas, all hell is breaking loose. And 2 days before Christmas, I served a 30-day notice on Steve the Golden Cow to get the heck out of my house because he was playing games with the rent. And anyway, so my husband pretty much hated my guts, I would say. Although he was still saying, "Come to bed, honey." So there was supposed to be Matt Powell coming for Christmas Day, as well as Kent's son. Although I think the incident was planned for Matt Powell. So Matt loved me at that point. He had really liked the Science Center tour and kept me in there for 3 hours and said that it had to be in the documentary, that it was such good stuff. And he liked me. And so Kent was busy in the background trying to make Matt Powell turn on me, so that he wouldn't have to, so that Matt Powell would think that Kent had legitimate reasons for a divorce, because Christians have to have grounds, right? And so Christmas Eve, I went. Kent Andrew was going to spend the night. He was coming up from Pensacola, so I went in to the, I cleaned up. I was cleaning the house. I emptied all the garbages because Aunt Andrew was coming. And then I told my husband, honey, can you do the dishes? Because I got to get in the shower. He's going to be here any minute. So I get in the shower. Aunt Andrew comes. I can hear them in the background, but I'm still in the bathroom. Kent Hovind comes in and says, I'm just getting the swim trunks so that Kent Andrew and I can go in the hot tub. I'm like, okay, I don't know why you're telling me that. And then when I get out of the shower, remember, I had just emptied the garbages. They were empty. I get out of the shower and there's these black women's underwear that aren't mine hanging over the side of the garbage can. And I'm all, at first I'm like, he's having an affair or whatever, right? And I didn't realize, I didn't really know for sure that I had just emptied the garbages until I listened to the audio recordings later and I put 2 and 2 together. And so I know that I had just emptied them and that there could be nobody else that would put it there because I was in the shower. Nobody's going to go into Mrs. Hovind's bathroom while she's naked in the shower and do that. It had to be Kent. And he's telling everybody, oh yeah, lots of people use my washer and dryer, and you know, Cindy's crazy. She keeps telling the story. Well, I have the message from Kent Hovind on my phone that shows what time he called, which tells what time I emptied those garbages. And then when I saw the underwear there, I said, Cindy, calm down. Don't blow a fuse. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe these are, you know, I knew 2 people who did use our washer and dryer. So I texted them, sent them the picture, and I texted them and I said, are these yours? And they both said, no. And one of them said, I try to keep my underwear on when I'm in here.
Yeah, no, it's that, by the way, I didn't know. I read this letter, and that's mentioned in this letter. I don't further down the line. I wanted to say whatever 4, 5, 6 or whatever. But I honestly didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I was going to ask about it, and I completely forgot because he mentioned something about underwear in this letter. But yeah, I mean, there we go. He talks about it right here, and then the next page.
So he's trying to enrage me so that I will throw a big tissy fit.
Oh, you're breaking up again.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Somebody has actually said, yeah, you're fine now. Somebody had said, is Kent cross-dress? Not judging, just curious.
They were strange underwear. Somebody did tell me they looked like men's girls.
Yeah, well.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, look, Steve has some proclivities that, and other people, and I'm almost positive Matt Powell does. And he's just another Steve clone. I mean, he's just another Kent clone. He's trying, Matt Powell is the most unethical, just sickly person on the planet. There's a whole bunch of them. I don't even know if there's a limit anymore. I can't even say who's the sickest anymore. They're all in that same category. They're in that category of just evil people.
Dirtbags.
Yeah, but who knows?
But I have to finish something that's really important.
Yes, please.
He was trying to make me throw a big tissy fit in front of Matt Powell so that he could point and say, see, she's bipolar. She's mentally unstable. And, oh, brother, I'm committed to her for life. It's going to be so hard.
Oh, God.
So the people will say, leave the bitch.
Yeah, they're like, oh, Kent, how you're just the ability for you to put up with this woman. You're just magnanimous, gracious, and whatever.
And so I actually handled it well. I did not blow a fuse.
That was smart. Yeah.
I asked him, so I waited for the responses from the 2 people I texted. They were not theirs. And then I had heard the audio that I had got of that night, and I realized it wasn't them. It was him. And I asked him about it, and of course he lies. And I didn't throw the hissy fit, but it goes along with the body slam. He was intentionally trying to make me do a hissy fit so that he could play the recording and make everybody.
Yeah, and then justify him body slamming you, which, by the way, that he did have arrest for that. He was got, I think, 30 days that he's appealing.
He's appealing,
Yeah.
yes.
Somebody had said, this is funny. They're like, how much was the underwear stretched out? Maybe we can Scooby-Doo this. That's funny.
There's a video on my YouTube channel if you want to see all the proof, including the picture of the underwear.
On the whack, and he discusses this on the Whack and Atheist thing last night, and he said this is another part of the controversy. He said they're granny panties, that they weren't like
Right.
They weren't like stripper panties. They weren't like
right.
Yeah, okay, or edible
I would
undies or
never want to
something.
wear them. They were ugly.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I don't judge people, but I mean, have a little. I mean,
He attributes it to the laundry.
Yeah,
that's
don't wear granny
Ken
panties.
Samo. He wants to do a sidetrack. He'll spend 5 minutes discussing the nature of the underwear instead of he was the only one who could have done it.
Yeah.
And he did it intentionally to get a nice recording of Cindi throwing a hissy fit.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's beyond his ability to. And by the way, if I do talk to him again, I will be bringing all this up. Now, he has specified explicitly in the comment section that he wants to come back on. I have asked you about that. Never put you guys in the same room together. That would be just ridiculous. It would violate a protection order as well. But that would just you never put an abuse victim in that situation. So I never asked Cindi of that. But I did ask her if I have Kent back on, would that be bothersome to her if I was able to ask him these specific questions? But knowing that we'll be asking these specific questions, one, he'll be prepared for them. Two, but will he be willing to answer them and still come on? I don't know. And I don't know if I want to have him on.
He'll just say the same lies that he always says.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I'm still considering it. I haven't. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. So going on here, it says I'm now going to address the numerous issues, whether they are interrelated or not, that you keep repeating ad nauseum to Kent and others one by one. Here's the underwear issue. I'll miss one or more issues or minor aspects or nuances, the answers or solutions about to provide you covers them as well. So the quote underwear issue, my solution. I love this. This is great. This is his solution, right? Shut up about it. Don't you ever bring it up again to anybody. Wow, that's not a directive there, is there?
I'm sorry.
Remember, this is Brady Byron now.
Shut up! Don't you ever bring that up to anybody. Oh, and by the way, you're bringing it up to here, and I'm sure thousands will watch this. They the last interview with you. Hey, Kent Hovind followers, we're bringing it up. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Come at me, bro.
So I'm supposed to just accept it? Shut up about the fact that there's girls' underwear in our master bathroom?
Right? Yeah, even if you take away the whole Kent planning them and stuff like that, it's a concern as a wife anyways, but it's like, why would you not bring this up? And why would somebody tell you to shut up about it? I mean, Peter, help me out here. What am I missing?
It's shocking.
I'm just so confused. Ralph Wiggum for $5 has a little happy dancy fox. Thank you, Ralph Wiggum. Appreciate that. Yeah, this is blowing my mind.
Yeah. Remember, this is Brady. This is Brady's letter. This isn't coming directly from
Kent delivered it though.
Yeah.
Kent printed it, Peter.
Yeah. I understand. I'm just keeping track of things. That's all.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So moving on here.
Brutus was an honorable man.
And there is more. And yes, there's more. The quote, by the way, this isn't talking about me. This is talking about this technician, Steve. Quote, the Steve can't be trusted to be involved in the ministry issue. And here's the response. My solution, shut up about it. Don't you ever bring it up again. I don't know who this guy is. I really don't. I've never talked to this guy. I know nothing about him beyond what you guys have told me. But, dude, that is not a solution. I'm and he adds, to anybody, he's involved, and you ain't in control of that, and you'll never be. So shut up about it and let it go. Let it go.
A druggie who just frauded a drug test and lied to us has the bank accounts, the Stripe account, the PayPal account, the passwords to the ministry. No problem.
I'm just dying here. Okay, the next one, and by the way, these are in bold for Peter who can't see it, but Ernie is a liar, thief, and slanderer issue. I like how he calls them issues, right? My solution. Oh, he does. He does. It's later on. He doesn't start off. Shut up. But later on, my solution. Ernie is in control of the finances of CSE, and you aren't ever going to be in control of it. So shut up about it. Don't ever bring it up again to anybody.
Yeah. That's what they said about Theo and Mary too, that we just wanted control of the ministry.
Hey, look, like I said, I think Theo's out to lunch on a lot of stuff, but when it came to everything he told me about Kent, I believed him. And it's a shame that Theo and I don't communicate because, again, he thinks I'm like worshiping the devil or something like that. But as far as like Kent's concerned and all this kind of stuff, we agree wholeheartedly. And I'm pretty damn well sure that, Theo absolutely is on your side on all this. So.
Yeah, I made the mistake of publicly saying that I didn't agree with everything too. And I said it but I do agree with his primary premise, which Kent is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I believe with a lot of what Theo said. And I no longer believe that Theo stole the Stripe account from the ministry. I now believe that they were slandering him just like they slander me. Anybody who sees the truth, that's what their MO is. They smear campaign them to protect their own income.
Yeah, that's completely obvious. I mean, this letter is indicative of that, to say the least. And then he goes on to the next one. The quote, I demand a new contract issue. My solution. You aren't going to get one, so shut up about it. Period. In law, you donated all the funds. Coming in afterwards, wanting to memorialize the transaction with the new stipulation have been construed in your head. That should have been done from the very beginning. Had you actually wanted your payback interest protected is dead wrong. Conversely for you, all your numerous stipulations weren't written out by you in advance because Ernie and Kent would not have agreed to accept any of the loan funds from you had they been fully exposed and detailed at the beginning in writing. So going back to the financial things, Peter, just real quick, what is the arrangement for that? Because, I mean, I know that Cindi gave a lot to this ministry because she had believed, in Kent's... And I'm not saying she's still a young Creationist, but she believed his Christian stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What she got, the last piece of the agreement was this document saying 1,300. This document from the S Corp saying, well, there's this money that we're paying Kent for his intellectual property. We're going to pay it to you as spousal support. That's what she got.
20 years.
20 years. Okay.
Right. But the thing is that document is Kent didn't sign that document, and it doesn't cite what consideration it is that Cindi gave, and then it is further complicated by the fact that it's not like she wrote out a check to the ministry and wrote loan down in the memo section. Right. It's that she paid for these various things, so if you just look at the paper, it's hard to say what is this.
And that's a problem judiciously. And unfortunately, this is an instance of a con man doing a con. I have no doubt that Kent knew all along that was his end goal. Again, money is power with him. But yeah, there's no way to tie the spousal support with the initial, and I'll say the word investment, even though it kind of wasn't. But the initial funding that you had given over to him, there's no way to really tie those things together. Correct?
She did. She gave overall it was like over $200,000 that you provided, right, Cindi?
Yes, 90 was a gift and 130 was the investment.
Okay, wow.
But
so when Ernie gave me that contract, it was via email, and I was insecure at the time that would be legally binding. And so I asked him to please print it, sign it, and notarize it, and give me a piece of paper. And he kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off until finally I went, this is not sounding right. And so I wrote it out in my own words. I said, this is what it really meant. This is not spousal support. This is in exchange for my contributions to the ministry. I will get paid for 20 years. And that it's not a wage. It's in exchange for these contributions. And Kent Hovind signed it, and his secretary signed it, and Brady Byram signed it. And so that ties them together. That was just a reiteration of the same contract. Ernie never signed that.
Okay, so Do you think, though, as far as like your legal standing, as far as your lawyer taking that on, where's that at?
I'm praying.
Okay.
He said that he might or he might not, because it's going to be a heck of a lot of hours. And he's in the process of trying to calculate how much he would charge me as a flat fee rather than an hourly that could just basically drain me dry.
Yeah. Okay. So he'd basically be doing a fixed retainer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if he wins, he would stand to get 33 and a quarter, 33 and a third to 40%. Sometimes could be higher, but I mean it's in that ballpark, which would be a substantial. If Kyle, again, Kyle and Kent, I can't even. They're just inseparable at this point as far as the amount of dishonesty. So excuse me for getting their names confused. You can see why. But Kent, there's money to be had in that ministry, right? There's still money there. So I mean, it is.
No. There's so many different entities. We discovered another entity other than what Peter already enumerated. Mm-hmm. And the lawyer, and this is what I've heard from multiple lawyers, that they could get me a settlement and a judgment, but it's a worthless piece of paper they're never going to pay.
There's no way to enforce it.
And I said, well, what about, I've heard that the sheriff will go there with a trailer and start hauling off assets. Mm-hmm. So I don't really understand.
It's called a garnish. What is it? A garnishment, Peter? When the sheriffs go out there seizure, forfeit.
I'm not sure, but the other thing that complicates it is the organization's a charge. Okay, which
complicates.
That can make a difference depending on state law.
Ernie signed it as representing the S corp.
The S corp.
Okay, so it's on the corporation. By the way, are they weaponized there? Do they have weapons on the compound? And I do call it a compound because it is a compound. Sure do. They certainly do. Sure do. Yeah, surprised to no one. By the way, I'm not against that. I want to throw that out there. I'm not against having weapons. It just doesn't surprise me. Okay, so you didn't do that from the beginning, like you should have done. And so the $1,300 you are presently getting per month is all you're going to continue to get. And you better be saving as much as you can from every check and putting it up for acquiring another property somewhere that you can get another source of retirement income for yourself. Wow, the amount of just disdain and the amount of just not having consideration for you is just palatable. I can taste his insincerity and his talking down to you and his viciousness. I think he's enjoying this.
It's really bad.
It's just repugnant.
I got it, and I said to my husband, "Your friend is a dirt bag."
Hey, but Kent approved this, so he says,
yeah,
I
he
quote,
sure did.
And then the next one, I demand collateral on the loan I give you CSE issue. My solution: you aren't going to get any collateral at any time for it. So guess what else he said? So shut up about it forever. Yeah. All right, your house issues. Maybe we'll get through this letter. This is amazing. If you put Kent's name on the ownership of all the homes, then Kent will be obligated as your husband to assist and help financially provide for the upkeep improvements, mowing the grass, etc. on them. Likewise, if you donated all the properties into CSE, then CSE would have to pay for the upkeep on them. If you leave Kent and CSE off ownership of the homes, you have to pay off all those big girl bills all yourself. Oh, big girl bills. Oh, they're big girl bills.
Put on your big girl panties.
Oh my God. I that term big girl I'm dead.
So they're trying to say that I'm inappropriately asking to use ministry resources to repair my private property, my for-profit private. Yeah. And I always paid for my own repairs, and sometimes Kent would help me with volunteers and stuff, but he would always say, I always thought he was doing it because he was my husband, and plus any profit I was making was going to the ministry. I mean, he would come to me for my credit card whenever he wanted something. Mm-hmm. And so he's just basically he's turncoating. What's the name of that guy that starts with a B from the Civil War?
You mean Benedict Arnold?
Yes.
Yeah.
The American Revolution.
The British are coming. One if by sea, two if by land. Okay. Anyways, my history sucks. Yeah, but big girl bills. I mean, jeez Louise, man. All right, page 3. We're already at page 3. If you want to use CSE ministry tools, gas, trailer, mowers, and CSE worker labor to paint, mow, repair, fix, or clean up your properties, then you have to pay CSE for that fair market value every time from now on, period, end of story. Wow. If Kent and CSE remain off the ownership of the houses like it is now, then it's also up to him whether he wants to be reimbursed for all of what he has already done and paid for that benefited you. He apparently, not himself, I don't know what that is, in of those properties over the last 2 years. So basically he's saying if you keep Kemp's name on it, then he has some responsibility for it. But if you leave and take his name off of it, then you have to pay for all your own upkeep. Is that pretty much it?
That's his way of trying to guilt me into putting my husband, or to feel bad that I didn't have my husband on the properties. Thank God I didn't have my husband on the properties. And also I would just like to say, so he can't spare a couple of volunteers hours to help me when I've volunteered basically 40 or 50 hours a week for 5 years.
Yes. I mean, I'm just going to say it. It's slave labor for the most part. I mean, these are volunteer people that go to DAL. As a matter of fact, if you guys remember back in the day, Kyle had made a promise or some kind of a deal, unbeknownst to me, that if it was something, then we would go volunteer for a day at Dow. Didn't know about it, but I was like, yeah, hell, I already know he's wrong. You know, Kent's wrong, so sure, I'll make that bet because it's a safe bet. And, you know, of course, if I wasn't, I would fly to DLL and I would have done those 24 hours. But that's how he operates. I mean, those are all people that voluntarily go to the compound to work for him under, you know, I mean, what do they get? Housing? And do they get food there? Room and board.
And some people, if Kent likes you, he will give you a monthly stipend. He offered me a monthly stipend on numerous occasions, actually 3 occasions. And I said, no, I said, I'm self-supporting. I don't want to tax the ministry. I want to give to the ministry. I came here to be a missionary. And
how many people does he have on the compound? I mean, how many people actually volunteer and say, hey, look, I mean, I'm going to go spend, you know, my time working for this guy for, you know, and by the way, why do they pick him over so many other more reputable Christians?
Well, no other Christian organizations pay your room and board. If you want to go volunteer, you got to have your own house, your own job, pay your own bills, and then drive to their office every day then drive home.
That makes a really good point. So, Peter, would you agree that because he's offering room and board and he doesn't probably care about background checks or anything like that nature, he's going to probably end up getting more of the unsavory people that probably, you know, don't live on their own? I mean, but how did he get you? Because you obviously had means.
What's that?
About 50-50.
Okay, so I mean, I was asking Peter. You didn't hear me though. You know, he's going to get some unsavory people because he doesn't do much background checks. So if people need room and board, you know, they can go work for him for basically free. But you know, they get room and board, which is not technically for free. But
on the other hand, to be fair, if you're Christian, you're supposed to have a heart for people who've been in prison.
Yeah, no, and I'm not against that.
So
for all practical
you know
purposes.
that would be taking in people who are consistent. I mean, there was you know, taking in prisoners is consistent with, you know, Christian teaching. So you can't fault him for that.
No, and I don't. I not at all. I think that's look, whether I agree with it or not, and again, I have no problem with it, but I like consistency. He is consistent with that. Yeah, go ahead. Of course, Cindi.
Comment on that. That was part of the vision that attracted me to him and to DAL. That, you know, if you want to start your life over and you want to come and learn how to work and learn how to be off drugs, I'm totally open to somebody who wants to start a new life. But if somebody's going to go there and they're still doing drugs or they're caught stealing from the ministry,
exactly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
if they are caught with, you know, pedophilia or
absolutely right.
Or,
and worse is that that a person could take advantage of those type of people, right? So I mean, you can have two facilities, both being claimed Christian. One actually wants to do it to help people and get clean and abide by the rules, and you know, God bless all that stuff. God that may or may not exist. But the other people, the dishonest people, the Ken Hovind of the world, they use that as a means of control.
Yes, Kent uses it as a means of control.
Yeah.
Because he can say, if you don't do what I say, get off campus, and they won't balk him because they don't have any place to go.
Right. Yeah, and that's
And
scary.
the other thing is, he actually, I remember Mary and I, when he was married to Mary, and we did landscaping together, and we saw the kind of drug use and lying and stealing going on by Steve Lynn. We said to ourselves, why does Kent Hovind have a liar as his right-hand man? And we thought, well, maybe Kent just is deceived by Steve. Steve is pulling the wool over Kent's eyes. Well, we both came to believe later, much later, that Kent intentionally runs off the people that would be offended by him asking them to do something immoral. And he keeps the people that will lie or because they're going to do his bidding and they don't balk at the moral improprieties.
Yeah, no, I think exactly right. It's called culling and cultivating, something I've talked about on my own channel. It's a principle that I kind of coined, I guess. I mean, maybe it's out there. I'm not saying that, hey, look, I mean, there might be culling and cultivating out there somewhere. I haven't looked. But I call it cultivating and culling, or cultivating and cultivating. Basically, what that means is you want to cultivate people that are, in my case, you want to cultivate the people that, have the similar mindsets, agrees about the ethical considerations, have, are not going to be the duplicitous people. Then you want to cull the ones that aren't like that, right? And so you end up having a group of people that, in most cases, are going to be of a higher caliber, right? You don't want to have people that are just going to be trolls and things of that nature. You want to cull them, and you want to keep the honest people. I've been doing that for years. I think he was the opposite, though. He wanted to cultivate and cull, but he wanted in the M180 where he would cultivate the people just like that, like Steve, and people like the dishonest people that are around him, like you said, they're on the dole, and then cull the ones that are asking him honest questions, like, "Hey, what about this? Why are you treating your wife like this? Is this within biblical standards? Because the dudes have been divorced how many times? Which, again, according to the Bible, is it supposed to happen?" And he balks at that. And I'm going to understand if you question him on that, he's not too thrilled, correct?
He's
Good.
Go ahead.
I mean, the thing is, he is very upfront about the fact that it's his ministry. He's in charge. If you, and the thing that I kind of admire, he says, if you don't like what I'm doing, you go someplace else and do something better.
And look, I agree with him on that. I'm like that myself to a certain extent. I'm tired of having to please other people that are not worthy of being pleased. And that sounds dirty, and I don't mean it that way, but take it what it's worth, right? But I mean, it's the case, right? I mean, you have to take a stand every so often. And I don't, in effect, think Hovind's wrong for doing that. But unfortunately, we know Hovind long enough to know that we believe you don't, Cindi, but Peter and I both agree that the information he puts out is completely wrong. But still, even if you don't agree on the religious aspect, what he did to you is there's nobody in the world that should not call that out and not find that may be morally impermissible. Nobody, Cindi. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous that this is the way you're being treated.
The thing is that if he's going to say it's my ministry and I'm the boss, and if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. If he were saying that because somebody just objected to a minor thing where it's obvious he gets to call the shot on that, that's an entirely different matter than if somebody says, we really don't want you to bring that pedophile on campus, or you shouldn't be treating your wife like that. I've seen you disrespect your wife every day for the last year. Or something where he should be receiving that input. He should not be saying, hey, I'm the boss in that situation, because that's wrong.
Yeah, you can't say, look, I'm the boss and I'm going to treat my wife like chattel. I'm sorry, that doesn't fly with me.
Well, actually, if you kind of have an Old Testament view,
know. Well, okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point, actually, Peter.
You don't.
Women are supposed to be submissive to their husbands. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't envy somebody's goods, his donkeys, or his wife.
Right.
That's your patriarchal formula.
I mean, it seems like he would put Cindi, on the same thing as a donkey as far as his mind's eye. I don't think he has empathy. I think he's devoid of empathy. He is either a extreme sociopath or full-on psychopath, but he has diminished empathy. I think he does teach you as a brute animal.
But there's a strong patriarchal element to the theology that they express there, and it's kind of extraordinary that I don't understand, like women, like yourself and Mary Toko, how you buy into that theology.
Peter, let me correct you, if I may.
Please.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That is a perversion of what is taught. Yes, the Lord wants the man to be the head of the home. Yes, he uses the word patriarch, but he never intended to enable dictatorship and abuse.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Primary law is love.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the way most Christians, mainstream Christians, would go about it, and I don't take umbrage with that. But Ken has taken that foundation and made it into extreme to his advantage.
He's perverted it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, again, that would get into theological stuff, but I don't have an issue with what you just said, Cindy.
Yeah, sure. I guess I'm being.
But you're right, Peter. You're right though. That is the core, at least to a degree. And people can argue and justify it one way or another. I don't have a dog in that fight, But the whole thing is that it is easily perverted to the point, I think, Peter, you would agree, Hovind has gone 3 to 6 sigma, away. I mean, he's just standard deviations away. He's way out there. Right.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Maybe diverge a little bit. So I tried to approach him on this in a way that he could understand. Okay. He talks about the military a lot. And I said, look, even in the military, you're supposed to obey your superior. However, you have the right of conscientious objection. And at the Nuremberg trials, if they said, oh, well, I was just obeying Hitler's orders, well, no, they're obligated to not obey an immoral order.
No, I agree with you. As a person who is in the military, absolutely, you have an obligation to not obey an immoral or a dangerous one. I've only had, in my 6 years in the military, I only had to disobey a direct order one time, and it was safety reasons. And I got to leave to watch, and I had to go talk to the chief engineer, the Chang. And it was the shortest conversation I've ever think I had, because I was scared of freaking death, right? I was like going, oh my God, I'm going to prison or something. I'm like, but I remember the conversation. He was sitting at the desk, and he just basically asked, okay, so I heard this and that you refused to carry out the order. It was basically the operating condition of the plant wasn't safe for what I was being asked for under the temperature and pressures, because we were cross-feeding plants. And I told the chief engineer, blah blah blah, according to standard procedures, blah blah blah. You cannot do this except for wartime or battle short conditions, where you have push a button basically that basically overrides all the safety features. It's an absolute emergency case. It basically says, look, we're going to die anyways. Push the battle short. It overrides safety things to get the reactor continuing, so you can bugger out or protect the carrier. And I said, those are the only 2 times that's authorized to be in that situation. He said, yeah, you're right. You're relieved. You're dismissed. That was it.
And what you were saying about a narcissist, narcissists never say you're right.
It was right there. I mean, it was, it's in the book. It's the only 2 times it could be wartime or battle short. If I remember,
Kent wrote this nasty email that said that I deserved to be court-martialed because of
what? Oh, yeah, because he thinks there's a maritime law issue going on there sometime
He thinks he is God Almighty, and that his wife is not allowed.
Do they have that? Do they have like some religions will have that, especially like Jehovah's Witness. So they'll just fellowship and stuff like that, and they'll have the community get together and the elders get together and they'll pass judgment. Does he do that on the compound?
They talk about things like that. That like that'll fit in with Hanson's legal theories. That sort of thing. It's like, oh well, we'll get 12 godly men together and we'll go arrest the federal judge.
Wow.
I don't think they. No, but I mean that. I don't think they actually practice that.
They'd be in prison.
Paul wanted to get a jury of 12 elders together to tell Ken Hovind, you're abusing your wife and you owe her money, and if you don't pay her, then you're a thief. Paul wanted to do that for me.
Well, I think that's fine to do something like that. That's not a moral judgment. There's more. That's just doing the right thing.
But he was asking if he was trying to do that to me, the shunning thing, and I never considered it shunning until just this week. Somebody told me that's shunning.
Yes, of course it is.
Because he told everybody on the campus, "Don't talk to
shunning.
Cindy. Don't answer her texts." if you side with Cindi, you'll be kicked off campus.
That's a psychological form of manipulation and control. That's all psychological. I mean, again, I know other religions have done that, such as Jehovah's Witness. But anyways, okay, so let's get through this to page 3, and then we might have an after show. Cindi has been gracious enough to give her time to do a Discord after show, which will be on my channel. If we do, I'm not making any promises at this point. See how late it goes, and of course Peter can join us. But setting up Discord, I'm trying to use Discord more, and I told churches in general I will try to, and I think this would be a perfect opportunity to use Discord. But I'm not. I know the stage feature once I've used it, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right. So this part is great, by the way, Cindi. This is great. Changing Kent. Just the way it's titled. It's I love it. It's headlined, bold. It's centered. Changing Kent. This may be immediate to all women. I don't know, but many women may want to change their husband after they agree to be married to them. Oh, this is by the way, all the wives out there. Peter, pay attention here as a married man. You clearly want to change Kent. I already told you what to do in one of our previous conversations. I told you to take all, as in A-L-L, all of your issues against Kent to God and freaking leave it there. Period. End of story. Yeah, that doesn't work too well. Yeah, and I love this. You're not going to change.
That is a way for him to weasel out of his responsibility.
You aren't going to change Ken. I'll capitalize. So shut up. So shut up. Yeah, shut up. Why bother trying to change your husband because he's a Pete? I mean, so take it to God. That is perfect. Yeah, you're exactly right though. That's a way to weasel out of it. Hey, look, we're not going to deal with any of this. If you have any issues, take it up with God because it has nothing to do with us. That's such BS. It's unreal. Whether you believe in God or not, that's crap.
I agree. Crap. Whether you believe in him or not, that is crap.
Yes.
And in fact, I have heard of other churches where the woman says, my husband is abusing me to the elders, and they tell her, go home and pray about it. And I'm sorry. And in fact, Kent Hovind teaches about that. He said, if you find somebody on the side of the road and their car is broken down, you don't say, oh, pray about it. No, you open the hood. And you look underneath the hood and you do something about it.
And if I was God, I'd be going down, saying, hey, dude, I gave you free will, whether you exist or not, but I gave you free will. What's your moral culpability for this? What are you doing to try to help Cindi out? What are you trying to resolve it? If she has issues, coming to me ain't going to take care of them when you have your own agency to take care of them. That's the way I would look at it if I was a benevolent deity. I'm not comparing myself to God, by the way, people. People that go out there, look at Steve, he's being a narcissist. He's comparing himself to Jehovah. Whatever. But yeah, I love the way he worded that, though. So shut up. You're not going to change it.
So this is another reason why I'm exposing him, because he's leaving a really bad example.
It's crazy.
Really bad example. No husband should treat his wife like that, much less a Christian husband, much less a pastor.
Couldn't agree with you more. And then he goes on, he says, if God believes you are in the right, then you got to be patient and watch God change Kent, or maybe thump Kent in the noggin to whatever degree that God believes is necessary to correct Kent's behavior, path, plans, or actions in his timing. He's basically using your beliefs and your fundamentalist type views against you. And that's, to me, is a form of manipulation. Again, Kent's like, what you said, 79, you said?
69.
Kent is 69.
Okay, 69 looks 79, but I mean, he's
yes, he looks like hell lately.
He hasn't aged. Look, man, I just hit 52, and I think I look pretty good. Hopefully, when I hit 60, I don't look like that. But I mean, he hasn't changed in all these years. And I do get the I do get the I shouldn't say simple. I get the gist of what he's trying to tell you, as far as you won't change Kent. I do agree with him on that. But the way he goes about it is completely unjustified and manipulative. You aren't God. Really? Cindi, are you God? Because he says you ain't God, aren't God, so shut up.
But you know what? Think about this. A lot of women want to try and change their husbands.
Sure.
A lot of men actually want to change their wives.
There's nothing wrong with that. Peter, have you changed since you've been married? Real quick, I'm sorry, but Peter, have you changed since you've been married? You have
Well,
to just answer yes, because any
I
other
don't think
answer is
I
going to go bad.
fundamentally changed, but I behave differently.
Fair enough. That's a change. Behavior change.
You learn how to hide it
counts. What a parsed answer. This man is a true husband. He knows how to parse answers. I'm impressed. That was good.
Well, no, actually, one of the reasons we get along well is that Evie has certain ways she wants the house to be organized and that type of stuff. And I'll say, look, I'll do what you tell me to do, but just don't expect me to internalize it. And it works beautifully.
I totally get that. I literally get that. But go ahead, Cindi. You were saying something.
I think I lost my train of thought. The changing. Oh. This is very important. Okay. If my husband's doing something immoral, unethical, damaging to the ministry, damaging to the cause of Christ, things that are dear to my heart, I can either try and change him, gently approach him, honey, I think you hurt that person, or, and not be a nag, but try and do it well. Mm-hmm. Or I can walk away from my marriage and say, I can't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, no, I get you.
And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to fight for my marriage.
I understand why. I totally understand.
Yeah.
You were committed and you were into making it work. But yeah, I mean, I think people change. Look, we all change, we all grow. But I mean, am I going to? I live in Cano. Am I going to try to change her foundation? No, it's impossible. She's pretty set in her ways. She likes things. She's a princess. Not going to lie. That's not an insult. She's a princess, a diva, a true diva, and I respect that. And so, yeah, I get what Peter was saying about internalizing. Because I'm like, okay, it's more self-preservation because I'm scared. But I mean, I'm not trying to change her for anything. It's like I have no want to. But we do change in some ways.
Somebody does something that hurts you.
Yeah.
You should, in a healthy relationship, be able to say,
yeah,
that really hurt me, or that really offended me, and the person should say, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry."
Yeah, absolutely. That's how things should work, right? That's the ideal situation. And like I said, I've known her 15 years, and so she knows me for me. I know her for her. We're family. And so when other people see different things different, it's completely foreign to either of us because I know how she is. And there, and so when anybody who says anything that's differing from how I know her, it just is incongruent, right? And so I'm not going to try to change anything anyways. Okay, so going back to letter here. Which, by the way, she's been dying over here. She's laughing. It's just ridiculous. Let's see here. So I love this. You aren't God, so shut up. God apparently either doesn't think Kent needs changing in the manner or degree that you think he does, or God is on a one-time schedule that is different from yours. Or so shut your pie hole. By the way, that is a false dichotomy, I think. Again, I think he really believes that those are the two options. But I love this. Shut your pie hole.
That was such a delightful experience. I just can't tell you.
Oh my God, shut your pie hole.
What am I supposed to do with that?
I don't know.
Don't get angry.
But by the way, can the outside hear Elmo? Can you hear Elmo? You can hear the Elmo?
I don't hear Elmo.
Oh, you guys can't see it, but Elmo's like dying when some of this stuff. I have it on the screen, but yeah, shut your pie hole. And by the way, just FYI, I'm only drinking water today, so this is not me on caffeine. This is me just having a good time for a change. All right, so and anytime you're in the future, you feel like you just gotta underlined bold, vent out of your mouth for the sanity of everybody. Go up the back sand dune and go scream and spit and stomp and swear and get it all out to God. Then leave it there, but leave Kent alone. Leave Kent alone.
And that's falsely characterizing me as spitting, screaming, swearing, etc. He got some recordings, but I probably have, I don't know, maybe 20 recordings where I'm coming to him in a calm, godly fashion. Mm-hmm. And how are you going to come to somebody in a calm, godly fashion and say, why are you letting Brady speak to me like this? Or
you guys can't hear the sound from Elmo. Okay, that's why I was wondering, because Elmo, I'll have to figure out why they can't hear the sound of that.
You mean the little red puppet Elmo?
Yeah.
That was my son's favorite guy.
Here we go. See if you guys hear him now. Ready for this? This is what Elmo's saying. No, you guys can't hear it. The outside can hear that. It'll come up here in about a minute. So every time that it's just like, shut your pie hole, it's like Elmo's going, what the beep, 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 beep. Yeah, there was sound. There was actually sound in that. No wonder. Because I it's hilarious, this little thing that I put on here for Elmo. Because Elmo's going like, because I don't know if you guys remember the whole thing with Rocco and Elmo. It's one of the funniest things on Sesame Street. It's like, Rocco's a rock. He can't eat. You know? Anyways, off topic. You know how we are in the Non-Sequitur Show. We're all over the place. And this is a serious subject, so we're not going to talk about rocks. But leave Kent alone. Yeah. Poor Kent, right, Cindy?
Poor Kent. I'm just such a bee.
Yes, you're mean poopy pants. Every time you've been verbally attacking Kent, you are literally forfeiting God's dealing with Kent, because you are trying to, quote, force the changes that you desire, and you are instead really getting into the way of your inability or lack of desire to control your mouth. I suspect interfering with God's plan to change Kent in his timing. Elmo's losing his crap right now. He's just here.
If we had diapers on, they would be full.
Yeah. And that was probably too loud. Sorry, guys. They're like, oh my God, Elmo's like killing my ears. All right, let's see. What's the next one here? How much longer you guys got here? I got 10 more minutes to we're at the 2-hour mark. I generally don't like to go over 2 hours. You can always do a part 2 if you want, but I mean, that's completely up to you guys. And also I want to do the after show, or are you guys good for another, I don't know. What up to you, Peter?
To you.
Peter? You having fun, Peter?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I can't stay too late, but you know.
I believe God wants to change and transform all of us day by day, closer into what He wants before our final breath here. But many married couples relationship, the wife wants to be the one who kept record of the list of defects, B, order the changes like they're in charge, and C, call the husband, quote, onto the carpet when the changes aren't being made fast enough. Personally, if this overall issue isn't only physical, I believe you are deficient in serotonin. Wow, medical stuff here. I don't know if you are bipolar in your swings of happiness or and joy on one end, all the way to your screaming banshee psychotic fits on the other. And I don't know what medication would be best to remedy that, but I suspect it's either that, or I believe you have a pretty severe case of depression, maybe even a case of buyer's remorse in the marriage, where you are the almost all another married woman who in the marriage, where you are like almost all other married women who realize to some degree after the fact that they are stuck in a marriage to a man they cannot change. Wow, that's some messed up stuff right there.
And you know what? The weird thing that both him and Kent do is they lie with the truth. Okay, some of that stuff is true in some marriages.
So yeah, no, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but he's generalizing, and he's just trying to put you in that category.
It does not apply in this situation where there's major betrayal and fraud going on.
Right.
It's, big difference.
The solution that I'm aware of that may very well help is a group of compounds known as serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They're called SSRIs, and he shouldn't be like giving you too much information on it, because I don't think he really has any understanding of it, but whatever. I don't either.
Gaslighting.
Yeah, fluoxetine, hydrochloride. I can't diagnose diseases or prescribe medication, so my request is that if you are still tormented in your own brain, then please, for the sake of the ministry and your marriage, get in the car and drive to a Christian psychiatrist and get what you need and take it, and maybe that will, quote, fix your severe mood swings or overall depression so that you can leave Kent and alone in peace. I love the fact he put in Christian psychiatrist, right?
Special place in hell, Steve. You got that one on the head.
Mm-hmm. This is gaslighting, and this is sick. First of all, if you believe people have those types of issues, and you know, it sucks. Trust me. This is not how you go about it. And it kind of just basically say, look, you are not right to have your feelings against Kent by being manipulated and being gaslit and being tormented and being abused, and physically as well. You're not. Take it up with God. And if you got issues with that, that's in your own mind. Go find a Christian psychiatrist to deal with those issues. Yeah.
It's outrageous. I mean, it's outrageous. It's no wonder I was angry.
Oh, I think you have a right to be. I'm angry, and I'm not even you. If this is not merely a physical organic deficiency or imbalance, then it might be induced by our mutual spiritual enemy. Oh, this gets even good. This is Theo level, like, oh, it's Satan, because he apparently has the ability to induce humans to speak forth in a manner that destroys others. So he's basically saying that what you're saying is of the devil, or could be of the devil. If it's not your own mind being insane or a lack of serotonin, it is because Satan is making you do this.
Ernie
really?
Land did the same thing. Ernie Land said I was demonically possessed. And Kent, they all three, they're a pack of wolves. They all tried that on me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know my positions, and you know that I'm an agnostic. So I mean, I don't believe in that. And if I did, I certainly would not. Anything you've ever said does not reek to me of anything of satanic overtones or even evil. Nothing you've ever said is even remotely evil. So I mean, I would have to think to myself, look, Satan would be this master manipulator, this master of lies, but here he is. He's using the truth too. But all of a sudden, you're an emissary of Satan, and Kent's not. I'm like, that doesn't fly with me. That's just crazy.
Well, and if you look at the issues, it's basically all I'm doing is speaking the truth about his heinous behavior. The body slam, the underwear, the contract. I can't remember. Oh, Steve and Ernie being in charge. Those are all extremely legitimate points.
Absolutely,
It's
yes.
not like
and you weren't the only one bringing them up. Other people were bringing them up as well. So it wasn't just you being the unfaithful wife, or the wife that's saying not giving the husband his due as far as the patriarch. It is they had questions as well. So let's see here. If the disciples tried to scold or upbraid Jesus when he spoke about him having to die shortly, Jesus didn't even use the disciples' name. He addressed him. He rebuked directly to Satan. I suspect this shocked the discipline. It might have been even offended him. Tough. It needs to be said. It shut him up. It must be Satan.
Well, and Kent's Jesus?
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
There.
It's a good point. I mean, Peter knows more about theology than I probably do. I honestly, and I mean this very sincerely, I just don't have interest in theology. It bores me. I don't have a dog in the fight where the God actually does or does not exist. I like the beliefs. I like talking about why people believe certain things. But yeah, you're right, Cindy. I think that in this scenario, Kent's Jesus, isn't he?
Yeah, that seems to be what it's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Don't upbraid the Lord's anointed.
Yeah, I should do that. Cano, by the way, Cano's Christian, and I'm just be like, hey, you're talking mad smack now, Cano. It must be Satan. Watch how fast that flies.
This is what you do, Steve. You say, "Get behind me, Satan."
Yeah, right. Get behind me. She just went to the bathroom too. Yeah, so get behind me, Satan. She just didn't walk back there. Oh God, I love that woman. Regardless of whether the discipline was actually physically possessed at the moment by Satan himself, or whether he was only being heavily influenced to speak out the words he did, it didn't matter. Still an attempt at satanic rebuke to Jesus. By the way, this doesn't have any sound to it, but I have a GIF with Elmo with fire in back of it. Rebuke Jesus to thwart the overall plan of salvation that he was prophesied, and that it would need a Jesus, quote, sacrificial death on the cross to complete his work, and Jesus had to put him out in his proper place. And again, I'm not trying to mock any of that stuff by any stretch of imagination, but as Peter and I both, I think, agree, this elevates Kent and the ministry and everything to a level is beyond something that you'd find from most Christian organizations, I think.
This is spiritual abuse.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'll go with that. Man. Okay, so let's see here.
Peter, you look like you have something on your tongue.
Well, no, I think that in the one-man churches, this isn't that unusual. That
probably not.
When you have the minister, don't you shouldn't ask how much the minister is making. It's kind of a tradition in this strong, the strong minister-led churches, that are very independent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there's anything new, but I do believe that Kent has exploited it to a great degree.
That's a very sad statement of the church.
It really is, and that's why a lot of the church has not supported you, because they don't want to get involved in this. He's an independent guy. So my advice to Kent is, the very next time you begin one of your screaming tirades, is that he consider that is a demonic attack, not necessarily that you are directly, personally, demonically or demon possessed, but I'm not fully in the Barb Larson camp. That true Christians can also be at the same time possessed by demons, although he makes compelling arguments that it's actually true, and to immediately verbally rebuke Satan in the name of Jesus while he is looking directly at you. I'm like, this is just, I'll give you a little anecdotal thing, Cindy, and I know it's off topic, but bear with me here.
Please take us away.
Okay, so people know I have lucid dreaming, right? And I haven't really, it's not as much as I used to be. It kind of goes away as you get older, but I still have it every so often. But one of the lucid dreams I had, and people were telling me, look, I was a theist at one time, people know. Hey, they said, in the lucid dream, if you see these entities or what you think might be demons or whatever, say this: I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, right?
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, experiment, right? This is, a mind experiment kind of thing. I was no longer a believer at the time. I was like kind of on my way out of it, but I did have a lucid dream, and I was in this kind of, room with these entities. I didn't really get a feeling they were, malicious or anything like that, or malignant, but they existed, and they were, checking me out. I'm like, and I remember in the dream, I'm like, I rebuke in the name of Jesus, get me behind me, Jesus, or something. And they just started laughing, and they're like, what is that even supposed to mean? And I'm like, I don't know. I just was told to do it. And they're like, whatever. And we were just chill. That was the dream. That was it. I'm not even fronting. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Just thought I'd try.
I was like, hey, somebody told me to try it out. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, cool. I'm not even joking. But Peter is right, though. This is something that would be kind of normalized in some more Baptist or fundamental Baptist types of theology. Would it not be, Peter?
I'm not. I can't say for certain, but
seems to be.
There is a you do read about there's strong minister churches where there's this they're the one who's in charge. They're not to be questioned. And
the whole rebuking Satan thing. In fact, again, if it was applicable, I mean, if there was a demon in my room, I would sure rebuke it in the name of Jesus.
And what happens if it didn't? What happens if it was like, hey, look, they'd be like, hey, look, I accepted your beliefs, but that doesn't really work for me. I just want to hang out and chill. Would you be like, okay, cool?
I don't really know how it
Netflix
works,
and
but
chill.
all I know is I am not. It doesn't apply to me. I'm not upset because I'm a demon.
Yeah, I get you. Like the other day, we watched Poltergeist and had tea. So we don't Netflix and chill. We watch Poltergeist and tea. Seriously, I'm not even joking. Let's see here. I presume that you would take offense at that and store it for yet more tirades later. However, if you are being influenced by demons to speak evil words without your knowledge, and thus without your will, book reference Dealing with the Devil by C.S. Lovecraft. Is that what it is? Lovelt. I'm sorry, not Lovecraft. Lovelt. Then this might very well be the source of your torment that has been growing on in your head that compels you to attack Kent because Satan hates this ministry. Because it is effective in recruiting tens of thousands of souls from an eternity in a lake of fire. Boy, if that's not spiritual. What you said, spiritual abuse. I don't know what would be.
Was that C.S. Lewis? Maybe.
Was it Lewis? I can't read it. I'm sorry. I thought it says, looks like Lovett here.
Oh, okay. But see, I mean,
Lovett. Lovett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense for Lewis too. But I mean, because C.S. Lewis wrote, a lot of topics on this. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm not noted for tirades, and this is just so much slander. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's also gaslighting too, making it sound like you don't have a viable thing, that you're psychologically.
No reason to be upset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that the things your witnesses are. Look, the reason it's gaslighting is either A, what you're witnessing is you're not psychologically correct on. So it's questioning your own reality. And two, if it isn't you, it's Satan, which again, questioning your own reality. If in any words, if I were Satan, this is exactly how I would try to work among many other avenues, to use his wife to destroy the man in the ministry from the inside of their home. Where I think Satan would be more using Kent than you. Okay.
And Brady.
What I'm
But
trying.
you know what?
Oh,
I think that some Christian women, obviously, they have used this before, and some Christian women will fall under that guilt trip, and they will be silenced by that crap.
I agree. I that absolutely does happen. I'm positive of it. So
I'd rather tirade and get angry than be fooled by that crap.
Yeah, I don't know who this. I didn't look it up. C.S. Lovett. Maybe he meant Lewis, because that would make sense.
What's the title of it?
Dealing with the Devil. I'm not familiar with the book, so somebody can look it up. I'm not going to Google. I got 50 million things open right now. What I'm trying to get you across to you is that your screaming fits against Kent are directly hampering, hindering, and harming this ministry, because it's diminishing Kent's peace at home, and that's where he needs that quiet time and peaceful refuge to prepare for the next message that the thousands of subscribers expect from him. You mean the dishonest messages they put out, the slander that he puts out against you, the defamation that he puts out to you? It's funny that Theo calls his channel The Lies of the Devil, and yet doesn't one recognize that. I think that the entire narrative that Kent puts out, as far as like scientific facts, are just complete lies. The Christianity aspect is a different thing altogether. But the atheist community, the ones that are atheists in the extent that they believe there are no gods, which I feel is the axiological value, more valuable use of the term, they're the ones that would be saying, hey, you're talking about spewing lies, and yet we have demonstrated numerous times that Kyle, I'm not going to stop doing this. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm just sorry. I don't even know the difference any longer. But Kent is never going to stop lying. It's nature. He has to, because he's had decades and decades of this just fabricated foundation that he has built up, and people go to it. And you've seen chinks in it. You've experienced this firsthand. But they don't. His own subscribers don't call him out on it. I don't get it. How do they justify it? Because you're just an evil Jezebel that's working for Satan? That's, to me, is irrational.
Don't see it. I don't get it. And they don't. Either he's telling them not to watch my videos, or.
Well, he doesn't. I don't know what he's saying about these videos. He left a message on the last video. I expect he might with this as well. And like I said, I haven't decided whether to have him on or not. That's not his call, of course. But I don't know. I'm weighing the pros and cons, and I don't care about having him on just because people watch. That's not me. If I have him on, I want to make sure that there's a useful value to have out of it more than anything else, right?
He was praising your videos last night. He's saying that the scientific videos you're doing are very good, but then every once in a while you do videos that are negative towards him. And but other than that,
I don't think he's watching any of my science stuff, to be honest with you. He seems to forget who I am every other day. I don't know. About. What?
Cindy's videos.
Cindy's. I was going to say, I don't think he watches my stuff.
About how some of her videos are great.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make that about me. I thought you were talking about my videos, because I do science stuff as well. Because I can't imagine Kent saying that.
Basically, he's just trying to do the same Christian guilt as what Steve is reading.
Yes.
He's trying to make me feel guilty that I'm neglecting my Christian duty and not doing science videos because I'm exposing Kent Hovind.
Sure he's not Catholic? Because they're all in that guilt stuff. By the way, so they did look it up. It is C.S. Lovett. That is the book. Again, did not know. Again, I don't know something, I tell you. You're robbing Kent of the quiet time he needs to be effective at what he does, like no other person on earth does. Stop it! Just stop. I wish I would have had the Shaq video prepared. The gift for that. We just like, I think it was Shaq was like, stop. What was it? Michael Jordan. It was Michael Jordan. Stop. Just stop. That would have been perfect. Don't make the claim about that you love this ministry while at the same time be screeching at Kent, who is the director and leader of this very ministry. Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't question Kent.
Just FYI, he got a massage, a foot rub, and my love and devotion. what you're reading is a lie.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, he talks about the chiropractor. I don't want to get into the chiropractor bill. The shower thing. I don't know what to make of this. The chiropractor thing is kind of not that important right now. But I had, unless you want to talk about it, do you want the chiropractor, or is that just?
No, I'm just what I got out of this letter was basically he's telling me what is embarrassing to the ministry and what they don't want me to talk about. So that gave me. That's how I knew what to
Yeah, I'll put it on the screen and people can read the chiropractor thing afterwards. But the showers, I have heard complaints from some men over the decades who had wives who won't shower. And for Ken's sake, I'm glad that you like showers. Yay.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, to put that in a letter. I mean, it's like, hey, by the way, we're glad that you shower. We're glad that you stick. Who does
But
this?
you're wasting ministry funds by taking long showers. And what they don't tell you is that the reason I took those long showers is because I was getting a horrific rash from my husband.
Oh God.
I kid you not.
I don't know what to make of that. Okay. I'm not going to touch that one, I don't think. I just don't. Nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Yeah.
But having to take 2 or hot showers per day, an hour each time every day, I cannot believe that Kent is responsible for that. So stop blaming her. Look, I live in one of the hottest parts of the world, just about. I mean, it could get to 120 degrees where I'm at. I will take a shower 2 or 3 times a day, and I'll be damned if anybody tells me not to. It's hot, and as a matter of fact, I have a pretty much a standing. It's kind of a standing thing with me. If I leave the house to go somewhere, I usually take a quick shower before I leave, almost every single time. It's pretty consistent with me. It's just a thing that because it's hot outside. I mean, right? I mean,
he never cared when we were getting.
Kano's like, yeah, you always get the floor all wet. I'm like, well, yeah, like, but yeah, I think that's odd that he put this in here. Like, oh, I'm so glad that you shower properly. Good hygiene. It's important.
He's just picking on me.
I can see about water hotness, right? Because I mean, this is true. Women like scalding freaking water for some reason on average, and men don't. Or at least I don't. And so it's like, how do you survive 212 degrees of water? It's like, how do you do this? It burns my flesh.
I think we are different. Yeah.
Yes. Then he goes on. You may not know this, but repeated extended time under hot water will actually end up drying out your skin, because it robs you of essential skin oils. Oh, come on.
He's trying to say that Kent didn't give me the rash, that I gave it to myself because of my showers.
Yeah,
now that I'm gone and I don't have his rash anymore, I don't need to take 2 showers a day.
You guys can
Yes,
make of that
there's
what
a
you will.
story there, and if he's going to try and shame me, it's really tempting for me to shame him. Yeah.
You do you, boo. But taking bioactive hydroloric acid may help you restore some skin health from the inside of the cellular level. That may help reduce your perceived need for long-term hot water use. If you ask nice, I bet Kent will even Bill Sardi send you some. Have Bill Sardi send you some. It's like, this is bizarre.
He's trying to get the blame off of Kent. I spent over $2,000 in 2 years trying to get a cure for that rash.
Keno says the hot shower, washing all the regret away. Yeah, I call it shame. Yes, watch all the shame away.
Everything. Actually, the night of the body slam, when I went to the emergency room, they did a urinalysis to see if I had any internal bleeding, and that's when they found out what I had.
Yeah,
and how to cure it.
Don't say what it was, because there could be some liability issues there.
Yeah.
But if you can't correct those 120 minutes of daily hot water usage down to a much more reasonable 10 minutes each time, then Kent may end up spending some of the CSE donation on installing hot water timers in all the showers and curtails down that or less. I would think that this issue might seem petty issue from your perspective, but yeah, don't worry about being knocked against the wall. Don't worry about the $200,000. Just taking 2 showers a day, not petty. But I've seen some extreme pettiness coming from your ends towards Kent. So if you consider to try to do this, if you can continue to do this against him, then you need to be prepared to have some kind of dish back to you. Finally, this is great. I love this part. Ready for this? Finally, get over yourself. You're a nobody. let's not wash over you. Get over yourself. You're a nobody. You're a nobody. Oh wow, that's not demeaning. That's not. Oh hey, look, you're no Kent Hovind. Thank God. Really, that's just.
At one point, he said he was going to deduct $700 per month for my shower bill out of my $1,300.
Wow. Well, we're almost done with this letter, so we want to make it through. We'll get 15 more minutes. We should be done.
Go for it.
Yeah, just making it 2.5 hours. We can do this. Seriously, when it comes to the gospel of Christ, you're a nobody. When it comes to the gospel of Christ, you're a nobody, and I'm a nobody, and Kent's a nobody. That just justifies on the next page, which is ridiculous. I thought all people were created in the eyes of God equally and stuff like that. We are all nobodies in relationship to the gospel. You need to put your own self into this, quote, nothing bin, and quit thinking more highly of yourself than you ought. Another book reference, whatever. Seriously, get the book and read it. Earlier, you tried to say that I was judging you, and my response was, I cannot judge you, only God can, but I can expect fruit, as we all can. Well, yes, we can. We're doing that right now. And who's ever calling me? Don't. Who's calling? Is that my end? Somebody call me? I don't know.
It's not on mine this time.
No, I think it's my end. But I don't see where it's coming up. I have no idea. Anyways, it'll go away. All right, go ahead. Let me go on here. It'll go away. Let's see here. Love, I don't see much. Joy, I don't see much. Praise or peace, I don't see much. Patience, I don't see much. Kindness, I don't see much. Goodness, I don't see much. Faithfulness, I see none. Oh, excuse me. Goodness, I see some. Faithfulness, I see some. Gratefulness, I don't see much. Self-control, I don't see much. Meekness, I don't see any at all. Wow.
But he's not judging me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
But he's not judging me.
Yeah, this is pretty.
This is a man who lives in Texas. He's met me maybe 5 times at the most in his life, and who hasn't discussed this with the people who have known me all day, every day for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I don't think he really cares. This is all to protect Kent. Yeah. I've got faults and personality defects too, so don't be thinking that I'm better than you, because I know I'm not. Our blinders keep us from seeing our own faults. Years back, I was blind to. I'll just read it. Years back, I was blind to my faults until people decided to do some tough love on me and confront me about my sins, and it was embarrassing and humiliating, but it was good for me because I needed it. It gave me the pause I needed to make some serious course corrections in my life. You've been needing this letter. I do not hate you. I don't even dislike you. I just severely dislike your actions and your speech towards Kent. You are the only person that I make handcrafted gifts so far. Only time will tell on that. Regardless, I care about you. Oh, he cares about you. Yes.
I'm feeling it.
This is abusive. This is like, hey, I beat you because I love you.
Yeah.
This is what this is. Regardless,
right.
I care about you. Go ahead. What?
You're right.
Yeah.
And just the way it uses the Christianese and the jargon.
It's mortifying. I care about you and Kent as a couple, and I will continue to pray for both of you as Kent leads in the marriage. In closing, thank God. Get the 2 books.
Hold on. He cares about the marriage. Okay, I have recordings of him and Kent plotting on how to get me to leave.
Yeah, those are, by the way, those are on your video channel, and your video channel is in the video description. Please go subscribe to Cindi and go watch all those videos. Some of them, like I said, the audio really was too low to really play. But if you go there and turn it all the way up, you can hear stuff. But yeah, people need to see those things. They need to see the plotting, the manipulation. But number 2, set an appointment with a Christian psychiatrist and go and see if they prescribe meds. 3, take them. And 4, direct all your verbal trash only up to God from now on. 5, stop attacking Kent. Last page. By the way, interject at any time. I'm just trying to get through this before the half of the hour. Can God handle your verbal tirades, and then he will change whomever he wants, however he wants, in the time frame he wants? Kent and you are the only people who I'm sending this letter to. Well, not anymore. Well, he sent them to only 2, but you know. If you show it to your mother or any others, then you'll be opening the door of exposure of his contents. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that what I said is right there. Don't share this. I sure did.
Yeah, well, I think this needs to be shared. I think this is unbelievable. But if you verbally attack Kent even one more time for any issue, it is also possible that this copy or his copy of this letter will be used in his defense. At least let others know that all of the above issues have been addressed and that you have chosen not to adjust your actions. Sincerely, Brady. Now, again, I don't think any rational judge in the world would take this for anything but what it is, which is abuse. I cannot imagine that. Any psychologist will tell you, I'm not a psychologist, but I would love to find a psychologist that tells me that this is not a form of manipulation. That's the psychologist I want to have come on this channel.
I think we lost her.
Oh, no.
She's there.
I can still hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay.
Oh.
There you are.
It'll probably come back in a second here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's frozen on our end, but we can still hear you. So like we're gonna be wrapping it up, anyways. Like I said, I think it might be too late to do an after show tonight, Cindi. What about? And I'm having a show tomorrow on CPU expert coming in. Do you want to do a part 2, but not on this channel? But you want to do a Q&A talking about this stuff after show? But we'll do it in a couple days if the audience is okay with that. Oh, this is like me. This is like me talking to God. I'm not getting a response back. I'm kidding. Sorry. I'm kidding. Oh, okay. I'm gonna wait for her to come back in. But anyways, Peter, let me while she's come back in, let me thank you for joining us today and putting your input in, and especially for supporting Cindi on this. Anything you want to add while she's
No, I don't think so. In the Whacking Atheist thing, which I listened to, Ken has given his people instructions to go to all the sites where people are talking about this.
Yeah, we have trolls come over all the time. We already know they're going to come in. But yeah, and look, I'm not interested in having his audience. The only reason I want them to watch this is so they can see Cindy's story and listen to it and hear it and evaluate it. It's never been about the views or anything like that. It's about getting her message out, no matter where it's from. Yeah. And I wish more atheist organizations would take it on board, because I don't understand. They got much bigger channels than me. Why would they not want to have Cindi on and have her talk about it? I don't get it. So
my heart is for the church, because they're going to be the next victims, and because this kind of crap is going on in other churches and it needs to be exposed, and the women or other people that are being subjected to it need to be defended. And it's not all women. I saw him do this to this really godly man, more than one godly man who was there. And that was another reason why I left. I said, am I going to stand by this man and say he's my husband and stand by him while he's abusing this godly man that just gave a year of his labor and thousands of dollars to the ministry? And he's threatening to call the sheriff on him. I mean, this is just, it needs to be stomped.
I totally agree with you. And by the way, there's some great channels out there that are, I see a few of them listening in, like Hereticals and some other ones. I got her contact information, and other people as well too. So if you guys want her on her channel, so she can,
yes,
get out there. She's been anyway, I gotta tell you, Cindi, of all the guests I've had, you are probably the one that is one of the most responsive, and that I've never had to worry about, like, is she going to show up or not respond to my email or answer my questions as far as, like, what you want or this or that. You've been more than, in fact, I've read all your stuff, but I can't reply to every single email, but you do know I get them. But you've been very communicative, and I thank you for that.
Yay.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank you guys both for coming on. We will probably have a Q&A, but I think it's going to be, I put a vote out there, and people are voting for tonight, but I really have to now think about it. It is getting late.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, and he's done. I can only sit for so long.
I mean, it's 10:30 here, so.
Yeah, and it's late for her as well. So we're gonna reschedule. We're gonna have a Q&A. So Cindi, come on, you guys ask her directly questions for the Discord. Plus, I want a little more time to work with Surgeon General to understand how to do the studio thing. There's a stage thing that I've only been on once. I need more time to even practice that. So with that, I'll thank the audience. I appreciate all the guys that have been supportive of the Non Sequitur Show. We're going to continue to do the Non Sequitur Show as much as I can, at least through the month of March and maybe April, and put out entertaining content the way it was originally intended to do. That's not going to change. My commitment to the show and to the fans and my promises that I made have all been kept. And I'm going to try to as long as possible until I can't for whatever reason. But I want to make sure that people are at least enjoying the quality of the discussions. If you guys got suggestions, please let me know. I literally will respond to just about anybody if they ask in good intent. I've been doing nothing but fielding questions. So let me know. And with that, tomorrow we're going to be having a discussion called Mind Your Craft with a